So welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are here live at Rockingham Motor Speedway for the 2018 British Drift Championship. We are currently got our Pro-Am Championship underway, Eddie. We just witnessed 60 drivers get whittled down to 32 for top 42 qualifying. Good grid. Very, very heated battle sessions coming up.
Yeah, I mean, exactly like we predicted, Ian, at the start. You know, it's very condensed in terms of scores and standard in the mid-pack, and I think that's going to lend itself to some very, very close battles. A few guys there really standing out. Lee Scott, in particular, really, just rising above the rest of the grid, and it's going to take a lot to take him down this afternoon. If you were tuning in earlier on and you saw the criteria and what the judges want in terms of a qualifying run, a lot of that stays the same now for the battle section in terms of what the lead car wants. But we're going to go over to our head judge, Dave Egan, who's going to talk us through what would be expected from the chase car in a battle.
Thanks, guys. We are now heading into the most exciting part of the day, which of course is twin battles, what we all come to see. And with the conditions the way they are, it's not going to be an easy top 32 for these guys in the Pro-Am class. Great qualifying session, saw some great runs coming in towards the end of it. But I think it's going to be a little bit hit and miss here now, as guys who've done 2 qualifying runs in the dry are going into the wet for the first time. So basically what's going to happen here, if you guys haven't watched it before, we're essentially judging a little bit differently this year than we were last year also. So I'm going to talk you through what we're doing here while you guys are watching the runs. So essentially we're looking for the lead car to do the qualifying line. Essentially that 100-point run is exactly what we're looking for, the same thing in the lead car. The chase car is essentially mirroring the lead car and trying to get as close as possible, mirror him for maybe improve on his angle, definitely get lots of proximity and not make any contact. Now, there's plenty of rules and regulations that are attached to a top 32. Instead of reaming through them all now, which will go on for a long time, if we come across anything, we'll be able to explain it. A couple of things to note is how we are judging this a little bit differently than last year. So of course we will judge each run ourselves, based on a split of 10. So we'll be giving advantages one way or the other with 7-3, 8-2, 6-4, or if it's 5-5 down the middle across both runs. We're also taking note of all the errors they're making throughout the course, so to be able to add those up at the end of each run. What's a little bit different than how we've judged it before, a lot of emphasis on the chase car in the past. Now we're actually going to judge this also on the lead run also. So we're going to score the lead run just like a qualifying run, and then we're going to score a split of 10 as well. So essentially, if it comes down to both drivers having a similar run, it may come back to the lead run, which is something that we're trying to emphasize, that the lead run, you can't have a good chase run without a good lead run. So the lead run is going to be rewarded just the same. We'll talk you through every decision we make today, and of course, if you're new to this, it's a lot of technical stuff and a lot of criteria, but we'll be able to explain it after every run exactly why someone got the win, the loss, or a one more time. And important to remember that it does return again this year, the one more time. So there can only be a maximum of one more time. And it is, of course, the drivers are able to change fuel and tyres to get ready for that, and we'll move on with the next battle. So a couple of little changes. We'll get through them today. We'll basically get everybody up to speed, and we're looking forward to the battles. It's going to be an interesting one. Plenty of walls out there, very tricky track. Let's see how it goes down.
So there you have it. Some changes made to the rules and how the competition structure will be, but of course, some of those rules just reverting back to the way they were, or similar to the way they were in the past. So nothing that our educated fan base can't really understand. If there is anything, as Dave said, we will go back to him to have him revert through it. He did write the rule book, and it saves us being put in a situation where we're giving incorrect information. So, looking ahead, we have the top 32 section now of round 1, and this is a chance for some of these guys to, get an early hold of the Pro-Am Championship, make a name for themselves, and do essentially what Oliver Evans did last year, and try and, get his name out there and potentially mix it with the big boys at the pro competition tomorrow, Ian.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, what we're going to see today is top 32 all the way through to our final this evening at about 6 o'clock. And like you say, Eddie, one of these guys is going to start the championship off in a very, very big way. They're going to be on the top step of that M-Tech Breaks podium. And we see Oliver Evans do that last year. He went into the pro class on a Sunday, mixed it up and ended up in the final with Matt Carter. So, you know what? Any one of these guys today could end up in such a good situation. So we're ready to go on the line for our first battle of top 32, and it will be our first place qualifier, Lee Scott, take on Justin Griffiths, who qualified in 32nd place. As you can see on the screen for you guys watching at home, there was a lead and chase, and Lee Scott will be in that lead position. Cars are starting side by side here at Rockingham Motor Speedway, and the chase car will have to drop in behind the lead car before initiation. So they are off the line, and it looks like we are ready to go for the first battle of the 2018 championship, and Lee Scott pulls ever such a slight lead there on Justin Griffiths.
Yeah, Lee Scott looking really good here, and Justin going to have to start pedaling that little bit harder to try and get back into this one. Scott looking really good as he washes out to that wall section of the track and just leaving Justin for dead here.
Yeah, Griffiths making a little mistake there coming into the wall, a little straight, and then it looks like he's kind of panicking now, cutting the circuit, Eddie, which is not a good look. Just trying to gain proximity, not what the judges wanted to do, and Lee Scott's lead line is very, very good.
Yeah, I mean, after a tough qualifying this morning for Justin, not what you want to have in your first battle of the season, coming up against the in-form Lee Scott. We go back to our Samco replay, and you can just see on entry, straight from the off, Lee Scott nice and wide out to that outer zone, hugging the line deep into that first or second clipping zone rather, and Justin just unable to mirror that. And it's exactly what the judges have asked, is that you mirror the lead driver as close as possible. If they go offline, you go offline with them, but he just didn't seem to have the grip, the pace, and certainly not the commitment that Lee Scott showed. Just see, you know, I mean, considering the conditions out there, very impressive stuff from Lee Scott here.
Yeah, very, very good driver from Lee Scott. You know what, he's definitely the one to keep his eye on, and we said this all the way from practice this morning. He looked like a good contender for today's championship. So we swap him around. It will be now Justin Griffiths to lead in Lee Scott. We get him up to the start line. You can just see our start line marshal Melks there, shunting those cars up at solid white line is the edge of the track. So it looks like those guys are locked in. The judges are ready. We are ready. So it is a go for the second half of this battle. It is Justin Griffiths to lead in Lee Scott for a place in top 16.
Yeah, and we spoke about how aggressive Lee Scott was in practice this morning in that chase position, and it'd be interesting to see if he mirrors that again. It looks like he's given a little bit of space here to Justin, knowing that he'll probably have the pace to get that proximity. And look, yeah, his spotters would have been on the radio telling him no need to go too aggressive. Does make a slight correction there and falls a little bit back. Both drivers dropping a wheel here. You can see Lee able to go much deeper into that outer clipping zone in.
Yeah, I mean, this goes back now to what Dave was saying earlier about the chase car following the lead car's line. You could see Justin Griffiths wasn't on the ideal line there, and he had to deviate off of the qualifying line to keep up with Justin Griffiths and match his line. So we await for our brand new graphic to appear on the screen, where we will get the decision.
Will it be Lee Scott? Will it be Justin Griffiths? We await the judges' decision. If you're watching at home, you'll see it on the screen. Slide him right, or slide him left for Justin, right for Lee Scott.
So Kieran goes for Justin. David and Ryan go for Lee Scott. It will be a Lee Scott going through and taking the win.
Yeah, now we will go to our judges for an explanation, but I do believe there was an error there, and it was all three judges in favour of Lee Scott, but we will get confirmation from them as we head over to our judging panel just to talk us through the decision based on the two runs.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, just a little error there on our scoring system. Kieran actually just went for Lee Scott. It was Lee Scott across all three of us. Incredibly strong lead run. I think all of us were somewhere in the high 80s if we were scoring it as a qualifying run. Gave Justin Griffiths every opportunity to get close to him, but he didn't. He actually sacrificed a huge amount of the track to stay anywhere. He wasn't even in proximity. So when you're not on the door, when you're not close, and you're making mistakes, especially made a big error from 2 to 3 and from clip 6 to 7 and 8, almost a straight and across two big sections of the track. We had a big advantage to Lee after the first run. Second one, we expected a little bit more from Lee Scott, that he would get a little bit closer than he did, but he sort of had most of the work done in the first. And even though there wasn't much proximity, Griffiths, very sketchy lead run, maybe mid-40s kind of run. So over the two runs, clear win for Lee Scott.
So there we go, Eddie, a clear win for Lee Scott. He advances through to the top 16, and we move it along to the next battle, which will be Tomas Falvey to take on Charles Funnell. So, Charles Funnell, first real year in BDC competing. Tomas Falvey, a seasoned pro in IDC.
Yeah, Falvey with a wealth of experience, and you can just see his second qualifying run there today, bumping him up into 16th position. So he's starting to show that form, maybe a little bit rusty early on, but these two guys qualifying in similar positions, 16th and 17th, so they should be quite evenly matched here. But Falvey straight from the off here, taking a braver line and braver pace through that first corner. Can Funnell catch up with him though, because Falvey's pulling a real healthy gap here.
Yeah, Tomas Falvey now trying to walk away with this one. to make a clear-cut decision. Look at this, big separation. Bravery favoured Falvey on the initiation as he threw that car in, and now Funnel is playing the catch-up game. It doesn't look like he's going to be able to make the gap up, so...
No, certainly not. And you know when the live stream guys have to zoom out that far, that there's a big problem just to keep both cars on screen at the one time, and Funnel not having any answer for the pace of Tomas Falvey. Falvey a little bit braver, I believe, through that first section of the course. As we go to our Samco Sport replay, you can just see straight from the off, Falvey on that big angle and opens up that gap.
Yeah, like you say, Eddie, he threw that car in and it gave him the commitment to come through clipping point 1 and 2. And look at this, he starts to then make the pull as he transitions in onto the wall.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about risk reward in the sport, and Falvey obviously brave enough and willing enough to take the risk to put the car on big angle, believing in his ability and the lock kit, and certainly pulls it off here. And you have to say, I'd imagine a big advantage going to Tomas into the second half of this battle. They are back on the start line. We switch them around. It will be Funnel to lead in Falvey.
Yep, they're off the line. It is Charles to the lead in Falvey for a place in the top 16. And look at this now, Falvey not giving the separation, not giving Funnel the room to move. And look at this from Falvey, now starts to dial on the angle to slow the car down. Keeps door to door with Funnel. A little straight in there from Falvey as he avoids contact with the back end of that JZ powered E36 Touring. Falvey just deviating offline ever so slightly, but now starts to make up the difference again as he stands on the accelerator. This is good chase driving from Falvey.
Yeah, it really is. Look, he's not risking too much. He's keeping at a steady distance just behind Funnel, but he has far superior proximity now as he makes the big dive onto the door of that big wagon. And yeah, you got to feel Falvey doing more than enough there to take it over the 2 runs. And interestingly enough, if he is to go through, he will be up against Lee Scott in the top 16. And what a mouth-watering battle that would be for such an early stage of the competition.
Yep, so that graphic is up on the screen for you guys at home that are watching. Tomorrow we'll have the big screen. They slide them all the way right for Tomas Falvey, and Tomas Falvey gets the win and advances through to the top 16. We head over to our judging panel.
Yeah, good run there from Tomas. First run we scored him qualifying wise. We gave him, he was in like a mid 70, but there was no proximity from Charles. So he never really caught up. So after the first run, Tomas had like an 8-2, and on the second run, again, it was a very, very difficult lead run. Again, scoring it as a qualifying in lead for Charles would have been probably down low 40s. Tomas did well to twin with him, and twin with a very difficult line ahead of him. So again, big advantage for Tomas in the second one, 7-3.
Yeah, so there you go. Tomas Falvey marches on into the top 16, where Lee Scott awaits, and as we said, a mouth-watering battle there, because Tomas Falvey looks like he's starting to just grow that ever bit more confident with each run that he does. But we move it on to our third battle in the top 32, which we'll see Stewart Ekdahl, a man showing really good form at the moment, very comfortable in the car. He's going to be taking on Kirsty Whittington, who pulled out a very impressive second qualifying one. Interestingly though, Stewart Ekdahl told me that he switched from semi-slick tyres to just standard road tyres and feels more confident in the standard road tyres, which is what he's going to be using for the remainder of the competition here.
Well, I mean, bold move there from Ekdahl, especially considering the weather conditions and the track conditions at the moment, as the rain has stopped, the sun is out, but the track is drying, but ever so slightly. And you know what? This is not the first time these guys have come head-to-head. Stuart Ekdahl and Kirsty Whittington have been in the BDC for a very long time, so these guys both eager to do well and move forward into top 16. You can see there, Stuart Ekdahl will be leading in Kirsty Whittington for a place in the top 16.
Yeah, and I mean, 2 cars that, could well find themselves in the show and shine at the end of this. So well presented. And look at the line from both drivers as they throw it in through the first corner. Nice wide line now. Kirsty starting just to lose a little bit of ground here to Stewart Ekdahl. Can she build it back up as they come through the midsection onto this second wall zone?
Yeah, Kirsty now starts to make up a little bit of distance that she lost there on the transition from Ekdahl. Ekdahl wavering ever so slightly, doesn't look as controlled as what we see him earlier when it was dry, and Kirsty now starting to make the dive, trying to get that proximity that she's going to need as they come all the way to the wall. Kirsty with good aggression there.
Yeah, really
Eddie.
showing good aggression. And you know what? I think just very minor mistakes on both parts, just a little bit of wavering here and there, but nothing stand out that you'd say, a big disadvantage to either driver. So I would imagine this one really hangs in the balance after the first run. You can just see, look at that for an entry from both drivers. Full commitment, using every last bit of the circuit. And then, unfortunately for Kirsty, just losing that little bit of ground. But she makes it back up and then maintains proximity throughout the rest of the course, not losing any additional ground.
No, exactly. Yeah, she does very well to chase behind Stewart Ekdahl. It doesn't really lay down the best lead line, to be honest with you. As you can see there, dropping clipping points 5, manages to get out to 6.
And that's quite an important factor in that, it's often said by the judges that a good lead line makes it easy for a chase driver, whereas a bad lead run makes it very difficult for the chase driver. And the judges will be looking at that, and they will be scoring based on what.
Yeah, exactly. So we've swapped them around. It is now Kirsty to lead out Stu Ekdahl. Stu Ekdahl now, could this go against him running those road tyres? We know Kirsty Whittington will be running on those semi-slick tyres. And you can almost start to see the difference in grip levels as Kirsty Whittington starts to pull away from Stu Ekdahl. Now Stu Ekdahl loses a rear bumper of the wall tag. Nice transition from Kirsty, Eddie.
Yeah, I think Kirsty maybe just cutting the circuit a little bit in comparison to the line that Stewie is taking, but certainly seems to have that much more pace. And possibly down to the difference in the tyres that they're running. But yes. Big error there from Stu as he struggles to transition the car. And could we see Kirsty Whittington make her way into the top 16 at round 1 of the British Drift Championship 2018 here in Rockingham?
So the judges are going to slide them left for Kirsty and right for Stewart. Who's he going to be going through to the top 16?
Kieran Hines goes with Stewart Ekdahl, David Egan. Well, Ryan.
Oh, what a split decision. So curtain the win and going through to the top 16 is Stewart Ekdahl. Stewart Ekdahl gets the win and advances through to the top 16. A split decision, judges. How do we get to that? So no word from our judges just yet, Eddie. They're just having a quiet word with.
Yeah, feeling a little bit antisocial.
Okay.
Okay, so we're just hearing that there's a technical error, and again, as we mentioned, we are trying out a new system here, and of course, as with every bit of technology, there can be some cobwebs. So we're just going to head over to our judges. They're going to talk us through it because there may have been a mistake in the decision.
Yeah, so it's obviously a small technical glitch in our new graphic system, but all three of us there gave the win to Kirsty Whittington. So essentially, where we came to that was on the first run, Ekdahl, when he was in the lead, straightened a couple of times. He's almost straight. He's barely drifting around the first corner. He missed a couple of clips, and he does a big cut of the track in the midsection, which essentially, he's gaining ground away from Kirsty, but he's kind of doing it in a legal way by cutting the track down, not giving Kirsty a whole lot. Now she gets back into the battle towards the end of it, and at the end we sort of give a 6-4 to Whittington at the end of the run. On the second run, Stewart Ekdahl just seems to get left for dead, has no answer for Kirsty's pace. She doesn't make major errors on the run, and he doesn't really bring the fight to her at all. So it's not a perfect lead run, but again, it's good gap etched out, and 6-4 again. So over both, we all went for Kirsty Whittington. Unfortunately, our graphic system saying the opposite. So we're just going to take a moment to have a look at that graphic system, make sure everything is okay. And of course, these are technology. We're moving into the 21st century. There's little glitches here and there, but it is a clear-cut win for Kirsty Whittington on that battle.
So there you go. Apologies for any misinformation provided, but yeah, Kirsty going through and a very worthy winner, especially based on what we saw in that second run. And Kirsty, one of these drivers we saw on the first run in qualifying, putting in quite a low score, but just grows into the competition so often and can be quite tough to beat when it comes to battle action.
Yeah, exactly. She's got a lot of seat time. Like I said, she's been a seasoned pro for a long time now, so she's got a lot of experience, and I kind of hope it's time for Kirsty to shine. She's had a lot of misfortune, and I know she's very, very worried about damaging her car. That's where it comes down to. But I know her other half, David Lamb, is given her some confidence now and said, run the wall. This is what it's all about. We need to put damage on the car to advance through, to progress in the championship.
It's like all you English people just need that little bit of Irish influence.
You're savages, that's right. You're just savages. You take a perfectly good car and just smash it through the wall, but that's what it's all in the name of. It's all in the name of fun. So, I don't really want to go to Nathan, do you?
Oh, God.
He's a nice guy. I had lunch with him earlier. We had a burger together, and he said he's going to stop calling you Edward. So I do believe. Are we going to go to Nathan? No, he's eating something. So we're going to. No. So apparently Nathan's he's getting his makeup done.
Getting his makeup done.
I've just been told he's getting his makeup done.
He's getting his makeup done. So we're going to come back to Nathan in a short time, but we are going to continue on with our battles. Damien Wilkinson taking on Stephen Fitzgerald.
An all IDC battle.
An all IDC battle, yes. Damien Wilkinson taking on Stephen Fitzgerald. Damien going to lead them in as the higher qualifier. Stephen qualifying down in 9th position. So based on that, you have to say with an uphill mountain to climb here, but can he overturn Damien Wilkinson? Qualifying means nothing when it comes to battles. And is it at a false start, or was it a problem with Damien Wilkinson's car off the line?
Well, technically, Eddie, false starts are very, very hard to. He missed a gear, from what we can tell. So we're just going to run this through at the moment. You can see Fitzgerald. Oh, maybe a problem with Wilkinson's car as he exits the circuit.
Yeah, it just goes to show qualifying only counts for so much, and it looks as though that will be a 10-0 in the favour of Stephen Fitzgerald over Damien Wilkinson. And with Damien Wilkinson limping back to the pits, I expect a 5-minute call here, 5-minute rule call here, and hopefully not too much damage mechanically to this car. Yeah, 5-minute rule being called. You can just see it there. Malk's showing up the sign just to inform us that that is what Damien Wilkinson is called. And
yeah, just to clear up what I said earlier about the false start, there are no false starts unless a marshal error was deemed to have caused an issue. So unless our start line marshal thought that both drivers were ready for the thumbs up, released both cars, but Wilkinson wasn't ready, then we would go back to the start line marshal and find out what happened. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case. Wilkinson's car missed a gear, and obviously I hope he hasn't broke the gearbox, but he's called a 5-minute rule, so we will find out more as we move on. But I do believe we're going to head to the start line for our next battle.
Yeah, that battle will see Martin Cowley take on Carl Farrar.
And our Drift Cup driver qualifies in BDC and earns himself a Pro-Am licence. Martin Cowley, the winner of the round 1 of Drift Cup here 3 weeks ago, takes on another seasoned pro, Carl Farrar. Carl Farrar been around a very long time in UK drifting. So now the young gun taking on a...
Yeah, look, it's a real testament to obviously the level of quality of drivers, driver standard in England. So just hearing from the pits that we have our roving reporter.
He's finished makeup.
He's finished with makeup, and he's got some information for us. So we're going to go head down to the pits.
Is Nathan there?
Nathan, are you there?
The red car against my favourite, the white and grey cars. They go head to head in a clash of the titans, where one will come out on top and one will move on to the next round of the BDC. Let's see if we can get a wave from any of the drivers. Can we get a quick wave? Just looking for a wave. They're ignoring me. They're just and there it is. We've got a wave there. You're my 8th favourite. He's my 8th favourite there. That's the guy in the red. Number 7, K. Farrar. He's from the Pro-Am division. He's one of my favourites. Very handsome man. And over there, hi there, we're going to get a wave. We're getting the double wave. That's the double wave. That's worth extra points over there. Excellent. Good to see him at the starting line. And here he is. Look at him, young whippersnapper, about to get things off to her head. We'll get out of his way so we can get back to business. Handsome devil, do yeah. Here we go. We'll take things that back to you. We're going to see what happens in this clash of the titans here at the BDC. Take it away, guys.
So there you go, K. Farrar.
Thanks, Nathan, I think.
Yeah.
Don't know if it was a benefit him not having the microphone on.
Yeah, look, I think that was...
purposeful.
Yeah, I think management decided better off not listening to what he has to say.
So we get it on the line, and it will be Martin Cowley to lead in Carl Farrar for a place in the top 16. Eddie, don't be bitter. Don't be bitter about it. Martin Cowley. Big aggression from Cowley as he throws that RB25 S14 in. Oh!
But was it too much too soon? Because dropping a wheel offline, obliterating the cone, as Carl Farrar now tries to make it back in, but both drivers dropping a wheel. And this just not the perfect run by any means from either of these two drivers. A little bit scrappy right from the get-go in. And probably a difficult enough one for our judges to try and decipher, because the error count, yeah, big straighten. Carl Farrar just backing out of that one almost just towards the end. Scrappy run.
Scrappy run, yeah, I do apologise. It is only an SR20 and Martin Cowley's car. So yeah, we're going to go to our Sparco Sport. Samco.
Sport.
Sorry, I'm trying to read too many things at once here. Yeah, look at this. A big aggression from Martin Cowley as he throws it in. Farrar just kind of gets lost, but Farrar doing the right thing, held back a little bit. There's not as much grip on that circuit as what Cowley thought. But does a good job, you know, straight in there on transition, drops a wheel, makes a cut across the course to get back online. Farrar doesn't really do a whole lot wrong behind Eddie, but you know what, it's not got the impact.
Yeah, I mean, as you say, look, neither line was that great. It's very hard to say anything about it, really. But yeah, I think this one's going to really come down to who performs better in the second half of this battle. I think one of these guys has just got to, you know, just get more focused and put in a strong run and take it into the top 16.
Yeah, I think these first run battle nerves are getting in the way there. But look at this. Oh, Carl Farrar.
Yeah, big drag of the handbrake there from Carl Farrar.
Yeah, fails to initiate. It really messes up Cowley's initiation. Now Cowley starts to claw it back, looking to get on the door of Farrar, but Farrar now looking strong out front, Eddie, on a good line.
Oh! And a big spin from Martin Cowley. And could that be, from the jaws of death, just what Carl Farrar needed? Because I'd imagine the judge was going to penalise him heavily for not initiating on entry there and causing a big upset to Cowley's line. Wouldn't like to be a judge on this one. A scrappy battle. Neither driver showing really what they're capable of, and yeah, one where we.
Yeah, a difficult one, Eddie. A difficult one. You know, a lot of errors from both drivers. Cowley putting in that half spin as he came into the wall for clipping point 3. You know, not looking good, not looking the form that he had when he was at Drift Cup the other weekend. Judge is going to slide him a left for Farrar. And it's unanimous. Carl Farrar gets the win and goes through to the top 16. Unfortunately, end of the weekend there for Martin Cowley. He does get his BDC licence, though. We go to our judging panel.
Yeah, so the first run there was even enough. There was mistakes from both drivers. Cowley being very aggressive in his lead run, put 2 wheels off through the first sort of set of clips there. It all came down to the second run, though. We actually deemed Cowley's pretty much over-rotated massively, straightened up, shut off, and stopped drifting for 2 full clips. So that there was a 10-0 to Carl Farrar, putting him through.
So there you have it. Carl Farrar goes through to the top 16. We return to the second half of the Wilkinson-Fitzgerald battle, where we can only guess at the moment it's a 10-0 advantage to Stephen Fitzgerald. However, we are only assuming.
We're only assuming, yeah.
Based on what we saw. So we switch it around. It will be Fitzgerald to lead in Wilkinson.
Yeah, misfortune for Wilkinson earlier on. You know, looked so strong in practice and qualifying, but we are good to go. Like you say, Eddie,
Yeah.
Look at this.
You can just see again, it just doesn't look like Wilkinson has anything. Seems to be issues with that car. It doesn't seem to have any pace. Struggling really to keep with Fitzgerald. And interestingly, spoke to these 2 guys in the pits, and Fitzgerald was feeling a little bit under-optimistic with his chances in the top 32, knowing he was coming up against Damien Wilkinson. But it looks as though he may be able to take this one through to the top 16 here in BDC Pro-Am at round 1. And yeah, look, good to see Wilkinson able to complete a full lap of the circuit, but based on the first run, I can't imagine it's going to be.
Yeah, there's not going to be a decision overturned on that, I can't imagine. But yeah, I mean, such a shame for Wilkinson. You know, he looked super good in practice. Very, very strong contender for today's battles. But unfortunately, yeah, just bowing out with that misshift. So judge is going to slide him left for Fitzgerald and right for Wilkinson as we wait for them to drop in. And it is unanimous. Taking the win and going through is Stephen Fitzgerald. He goes through to the top 16. Unfortunately, Damien Wilkinson, that misshift absolutely crucifying his run. We go to our judges for a breakdown of the second half of that run.
Yeah, guys, so pretty obvious one there. Damien Wilkinson failing to initiate on the first corner really was the nail in the coffin over both runs. He scored a 10-0 on the first, which shut him down. On the second, he actually gained a small advantage for some good aggressive chase driving, but far too much, too little, too late.
Yeah, so there you go. Yeah, just that mischief, and such a small error to make, completely ruin the whole run. So we do move it along, Eddie, and it will be the Gymkhana grid. I mean, you can't call him a king because he's yet to take that crown off of Luke Woodham, but the Gymkhana grid successor.
Primo.
Wow, I like that. Taking on the young gun, the king of the ring, the Drift Cup champion, Alistair Sutton. Can the man with 24 million trophies under his belt for Gymkhana grid and burnout competitions take down the young man that seemed unstoppable last year, Alistair Sutton? It will be Adam Elder to lead in Alistair Sutton for a place in the top 16. Could this be Elder's return to drifting on a larger scale? Could this be him?
Well, it certainly could be if he could get himself onto a podium and bring some silverware back home with him. Big entry from him there, nice and deep into that second clipping zone, and Sutton doing a good job to just staying close with him, not letting him get too far ahead. Transitions nicely, and now looks to get onto the door as they take it out to the wall. This is looking like a perfect matchup in the top 32 as Sutton goes to the door on Elder.
Yeah, Elder doing a good job so far. Absolutely perfect lead line from Elder, but look at Alistair Sutton. This is what gave Sutton his name from being such a good chase driver. Absolutely glues it to the door as Elder lays down a perfect lead run there.
Yeah, I mean, look, a really strong lead run from Elder, but in these conditions to chase with that proximity is going to be hard to beat, and Elder, I think, has got his work cut out in the second half of this battle. We go to the Samco Sport replay. Again, you can see, look, a little bit of a gap opens up, but Sutton just gets on it from here. This transition, I think, is just where he picks up all his proximity.
Yeah, I mean, he carries good speed. This is exactly, you were right there, Eddie. Off of the wall, Sutton carries the speed, and then once he gets that proximity, Elder cannot shift that little BMW, and you can see Alistair Sutton glued to him. Absolutely perfect chase driving there from Alistair Sutton.
Yeah, he drops into the pocket, and he's within that 3 metre rule, so well within his rights to tuck in there and cut the course that little bit. And I think the judges are going to reward Elder for his good line, but Sutton's also going to be rewarded for his proximity. So I think this one could be quite close, and I think it's going to come down to the second half of the battle.
Exactly. So we are ready to go. It will be Alistair Sutton now to lead in Adam Elder for a spot in top 16. Can the Zesino Tyres
a lot of wheel spin there for Elder off the line.
Big separation as Sutton throws it in on nice angle. Elder then cuts the circuit, fails to initiate Eddie on clipping point 1 and starts to lose ground to Sutton.
Yeah, it looks like he just had no grip off the line, spun wheels, maybe just overly aggressive on the throttle. Now he's got that proximity, but he really had to sacrifice his line in, as you said, and then again losing ground.
Yeah, look at this from Sutton. Sutton now putting down a perfect lead run, just missing out on clipping point 5.5 there, gets to the wall for 6, but Elder now making mistakes to gain proximity, not going to be rewarded for that, as Sutton does a real good job out front on the last part of the circuit.
And Elder tags the wall, trying everything at the depth just to try and pull that back. But do you know what? I think Sutton...
It's going to be a very, very close decision, so we wait.
Yeah, I think... Has Sutton done enough there? We go back to the replay provided to you by Samco Sport, but you can just see, Samco loving these little wall runs at the end. Deep into that box, just tags the wall, hand out the window, he pulls it back in.
He pulls it back in just in time.
Just in time, yeah. He's like, oops, I'm going to lose my arm. Please keep all arms and legs inside the vehicle.
So we wait for our judges to get their decisions in. And who will it be taking a place in top 16?
Sutton or Elder? So...
Kieran
they drop
Hines
in, Kieran Hines goes Sutton, David goes Sutton, and Ryan goes Sutton. All 3 judges in favour of Alistair Sutton. He goes through to our top 16. Grandstand makes some noise for both drivers. We go over to the judges for an explanation. Wow.
But the first battle there, Adam had a really good lead line, scored high actually on that around an 80, but Alistair had great proximity. He was on his door the whole way around. Even in transitions, he was transitioning nicely, getting back on the door. So really good chase. Came away with a 7-3 after the first one. The second run with Adam chasing Alistair, Adam just didn't have the same proximity. He also had little errors while trying to gain proximity. He was making little errors there. So for the second one, I scored a 6-4 to Alistair. So over both runs, Alistair took it.
So there you go, Alistair Sutton taking the win, getting that place in top 16 and advancing through. We move it along to the next battle, which will be Funk Motorsport sponsored driver Oliver Bolton to take on Ronan Caston. all the way from Ireland. This battle could be good, Eddie. Oliver Bolton's driving style is very aggressive. When he likes to chase, I see these guys having a little play in practice earlier. Oliver Bolton likes to get on the door and stick there. Now, Ronan was battling earlier with Fitzgerald, and they were door-to-door. So I expect nothing but fireworks in this battle. Door-to-door action all the way from the get-go.
Yeah, you know, I think these two guys are both going to go out. They want to go close, and if they can get through the first corner side by side, I think that's where they're going to stay all the way out. True.
Oh! Wow! And look
Problems
at this.
on the start line.
Oliver Bolton takes full advantage of a nice initiation, but Caston shuts it down on the start line. Looks like he either misshifted, and look at that, Bolton looks across the track and a little smile comes on his face as he keeps on going now. Caston keeps on pedalling, but...
Yeah, little that Oliver Bolton can do about this now. Oh, sorry, Patterson. And problems on the start line. You know what? We said they were going to be close. They couldn't be further apart here.
Yeah, I mean, I completely never expected that to happen. I don't think Ronan Caston expected that to happen either.
Yeah, was it a stall possibly, or
was it a misshift again? Are these misshifts, you know, are these misshifts killing the drivers? So we're about to find out. Does he need a call of 5 minute? We can see our track staff here at Rockingham Speedway just getting in the car there with him just to find out if it was a driver mistake or... Oh, do you know what? To go out to a driver mistake, Eddie, is just the worst. Yeah, and look at that. He's ready to line back up again.
Yeah, and, you know, a driver mistake on the start line even more so, you know, because it's... You've lost before you've even got started, but we line them back up, and it will be Caston to lead in Bolton.
Yep, so it will be Caston to lead in Bolton for the second half of this battle now. I can only imagine Bolton sitting on a huge lead at the moment.
Yeah, so Bolton to lead them in, and you'd imagine...
Bolton just...
Caston to lead them in,
Sorry,
but you'd imagine Bolton just leaving a little bit of a gap here, knows he has that big advantage over the first run, doesn't need to push it too much, but he would want to keep relative proximity here just to have a contested run.
Do you know what, for me, Eddie, I think that Bolton wants to try and gain that proximity throughout the run. He knows he's got the big advantage, and look at this, Caston slowing that car down massively, maybe trying to force Bolton into an error, but look at Bolton now, starts to gain that proximity and puts the pressure on Caston, nearly over-rotating his Bolton as he cuts the corner, but is it all too much as they get to the line there? Wow, I mean... Yeah, for me, in that situation, as we look back at our Samco Sport replay, for you guys watching at home, like I say, tomorrow we'll have the big screen here, so you guys in attendance will be able to see that live as we go through it. Big separation, but I think Bolton did it on purpose. I think Bolton left the room because he didn't want to, you know, force himself into an error, make his own mistakes. And he gained that proximity throughout the track, cutting a little bit of the circuit, you know, not perfect chase line, but to be fair, Caston really wasn't on the best lead line either.
No, and Bolton, he's going into this run knowing he just needs to not spin, and he's going through. You know?
And he nearly spun there.
And he nearly spun.
And he nearly spun there.
But again, no need to, especially with the conditions, to try and push the boat out too much. When there's no need
when
to.
When there's no need to, yeah, exactly. So we wait to see how our judges call this one. Left for Caston, right for Bolton. Who's it going to be? Kieran, David and Ryan go unanimous. Oliver Bolton, ladies and gentlemen, gets the win and advances through to the top 16. We go to our judges. Dave, I'm not even sure what happened there and what is happening today.
Thanks, Ian. Pretty simple one there. Actually, not as simple as it looked on the surface. Essentially, you know, you look at it, it was a very big, obviously, an error from Caston, didn't come off the line, but he was in the chase position, so he didn't really affect the battle. However, we have a rule here which we call the inactive chase. So as he was almost, I mean, the track was very close to being red flagged on the crossover there, and he was so far behind, he wasn't even really in the battle whatsoever. So it actually did incur a 10-0 on the first run. Second run, messy from both drivers. You know, Caston tries to get back into it, but the damage was done, and it all just came from that error on the start line on the first run. So there you have it, Oliver Bolton moving through.
So there you go, Funk Motorsport driver Oliver Bolton getting the win.
Bolton into the top 16.
Yeah, top 16. They'd be over the moon.
Yeah.
Be chuffed. So we move it along.
Yeah, final battle in this bracket of our top 32. It's going to see Matthew Walker take on Richard Dalby-Smith.
Matthew
Picchu.
Matt Walker, the man with 9 lives, or 4, as he said earlier. He's only got 4 left.
He's only got 4 left.
Takes on Richard Dalby-Smith.
He'll probably only have 3 after this.
So we are ready on the line with our next battle. And top 16, you know what, he's stacking up well so far. Some good battles appearing out of this.
Some interesting battles in our top 16 already, and we are only halfway through the top 32. So, you see them there. Walker versus Dalby-Smith. Walker to lead them in, Smith to give chase.
Yeah, what has Smith got? We know that Matt Walker is the giant killer. Can Dalby-Smith take him down? The man with 9 lives throws that car in, but look at this from Matt Walker, way offline, Eddie. This is uncharacteristic of Matt Walker. We've seen this guy put down some seriously good driving. Carries good speed on the transition as they head both to the wall. But Matt Walker now miles offline. This is not good for Walker, Eddie.
No, not one bit. Not what I would have expected to see from Walker when he came out into the lead position. Again, sacrificing so much of that track. He's practically, beyond the midsection of the track. And, Dalby-Smith just hanging in behind him saying, you know what, if you want to cut the track, I'm just going to go, float in behind you.
Yeah, exactly. Dalby-Smith doing what the judges said was allowed. If the lead car's not on the right line, instead of sticking to that qualifying line, which we used to promote, they said, you know what, now you can chase the lead car even if he's online to gain proximity. And Dalby-Smith, in his right, he did that. He put down a good chase run.
You can just see, and sorry to cut across you, the amount of angle that he had to pull there just to avoid,
cutting the circuit. Yeah.
Even in that chase position with the gap he had, he was still sideways and gaining proximity due to the extra speed that he had over Walker. So it looks as though Dalby-Smith going into the second half of the battle with the advantage.
Yep, so now can Matt Walker keep up with the 2-litre CA under the bonnet of the S13? We're about to find out as Dalby-Smith leads in Walker for the second half of this battle. Nice initiation there from Dalby-Smith, nice and wide. Now look at Walker again, Eddie, falling short of clipping point 2. Dalby-Smith on a very good line. Nice transition in the centre of the track. Now scrubs the speed perfectly. Look at this from Dalby-Smith. Little wobble there, but no answer whatsoever.
Yeah, comes
from Walker.
Yeah, Dalby comes a little bit shallow there, but to be honest, that's just picking at straws here. This is quite the impressive run from him, and Walker maintaining proximity, but just enough, a little bit of a wall tap as they cross the line, and Dalby-Smith looking like he's coming to put on a show here.
Yeah, exactly. A few errors from Dalby-Smith as we head back to our Samco Sport replay in just a second. You guys at home watching on the live feed. As you can see here, look, Dalby-Smith kind of on a wrong line there. This is going back to the Samco Sport. They love these wall runs. And Dalby-Smith putting on a masterclass there.
Yeah, Dalby-Smith just looking to get rid of that little bit of red paint left by Tomas Falvey. It's like 2 dogs marking their territory.
Yeah, I mean, for me, a few errors there from Dalby-Smith, but I don't think those errors could overturn the errors that was made by Walker in the first half of that battle. We're about to find out. Is it going to be Walker or Dalby-Smith that goes through to top 16? Kieran, David and Ryan make it unanimous. It is Richard Dalby-Smith who heads through to the top 16. Dalby-Smith gets the win. Unfortunately, that is the end of the weekend there for Walker. We head over to our judging panel.
Yeah, so, I mean, both runs there were not particularly great, but out of the two, Rich just pulling through very, very slightly there. His lead run was much better on the second one than Walker's. Rich actually managed to keep proximity with Walker in the chase position, even though the lead run was so poor. So he was rewarded there, and again on his lead run. So taking it by fairly small margin there, Rich goes through.
So there you go, Eddie. And up next on the line, a David and Goliath battle, but not in the way you'd think.
Yes, because neither of them are David and neither of them are Goliath. It's Ryan and Paul.
I was actually going to say that I look at Ryan Caldwell as Goliath. And Paul Beaty right now has got to be the Slayer, because the 16-year-old student from Ireland powering that 750 horsepower.
Almost half the age.
Almost half the age, yes. 750 horsepower, S15 to be taken on by Paul Beaty in that SR22, 500 horsepower. Has Beaty got what it takes to take down the 16-year-old superstar? We're about to find out, Eddie.
Yeah, well, it's going to have to be something special here. Qualified in 31st position, and Caldwell with a very grippy S15. Look, there's not a whole lot in it. It's going to need to be a good transition here for Beaty if he's going to get himself back into this one. But he's not losing ground. Just doesn't seem to have an answer for the young gun.
Yeah, looks like Caldwell is taking lead on this battle, as you can hear Paul Beaty absolutely hammering the rev limiter. Caldwell not really putting a foot wrong, but Beaty finding himself way offline, cuts the circuit to try and gain proximity. Now starts to make a dive back on the door again, but it's a little bit too late as Caldwell crosses the line.
The thing about that run from Caldwell, it's one of those runs where it's that good that it doesn't even look good.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
It's just, it flows. It's just natural. That is the good thing with Ryan Caldwell. You watch him drive, it just happens. It's not forced. Look at this, nice entry, not too much speed. You know, he's very wise. He uses the weight of the car to get that car all the way out on that wide line. Beaty now starts to get caught out. Caldwell applies the pressure, starts pulling away, and now Beaty starts making the mistakes. You can see here, big angle on the transition, which puts him on the wrong place on the wall. Look, cuts him short on that clipping point, and again, then cuts himself way short here as he throws on more big angle, slows the car down. Caldwell all the way out to the wall where he expects him, and Beaty, you know, he's playing catch up all the time. But now, can Caldwell follow behind Beaty? You know, it's hard.
Yeah, look, I think he can. You know, he's such a talented young driver, and again, it was that run that he just put in. It's the type of run that would, if you're sitting at home and you've never drifted a car before, you kind of go, God, drifting's
that is
easy.
drifting.
Drifting's easy.
Drifting's easy, yeah.
Just never looked difficult. Now, leaves a little bit of a gap. He knows he has the pace and the power and the talent to pull it back and close it as the run goes on. And look at this, already onto that rear quarter of the S14.
Yeah, Ryan Caldwell, experienced, like you say, Eddie, and a very good chase driver. Keeps his distance from Paul Beaty.
Oh, but a big straighten from Caldwell. And is it problems?
Wow.
And Caldwell shuts it down, and just as we talk about the talent of this young man.
Wow, yeah.
Could this be the end of the round? For surely not for Tomas or for Ryan Caldwell. So unfortunate. And
yeah, so looks like a problem with Caldwell's car. He shuts it down and stops drifting. We're going to wait for this one to be finalised by the judges. Is it going to be Beaty or Caldwell? I can only imagine it's going to be Beaty getting the win, and yes, it is. It's unanimous. Paul Beaty gets the win. Clear-cut decision. Not really any need to go to the judges for that one. But I do believe we have Nathan. That's his name, Nathan. I do believe we've got Nathan. So we're going to go. He's in the van. Nathan, are you there, mate?
I certainly am, and it is Nathan indeed. Don't forget that. It's going to become a prominent part of your lives. We're just here doing a little bit of drifting ourselves in the car park. I'm past my old friend here. Here's Josh trying to do some recording himself. He actually got me the job here at the BDC. Your biggest mistake he ever made. Out of the way, please, Josh. We're doing a bit of work. We're just driving some of the cars here. It's a little bit wet outside. There's Mr. Scott. Mr. Scott, you haven't accepted me on Instagram yet. Current leader, there's Lee Scott. It's Lee. Add me on Facebook, remember? Like my stuff, I like yours. I'm only going to unfollow him later. But yeah, we're just admiring the cars here at the BDC. Hi. I got a 2-litre diesel myself, so it's a different kind of vibe. But anyway, back to you guys. Edward, Ian.
Right.
I don't know if that's drifting, technically. I don't know how that works.
We'll move it on.
We're moving swiftly
Swiftly
moving on to our Drift Cup driver, Jake Rolls.
You know, we're stuck with him for the weekend, but hopefully
we're just going to have to make it work, Eddie. We're just going to have to make it work. You know, it's what it is, unfortunately. But we move it along, like I say, to Jake Rolls on the start line, our Drift Cup driver, and his place in BDC after qualifying this weekend. He takes on a veteran in UK drifting, not just a seasoned pro, a veteran. The junglist, we should call him. The junglist, Alexis Drew. It will be Jake Rolls to lead out Alexis Drew.
Jungle juice.
So off the line, Jake Rolls in that little M50 powered BMW compact to take on the 2JZ powered R34 four-door. And look at this, Jake Rolls all the way out on the edge of the circuit. But here comes Alexis Drew now applying the pressure to the new boy in town. And Alexis Drew gets himself trapped there, Eddie.
Yeah, but I think that's down to how shallow he came through that first hairpin bend. Very much offline, but you know what? The lead line here from Jake Rolls isn't exactly perfect either, so it's not making it easy for Alexis in that very big R34. A very scrappy run here on both accounts.
Yeah, I mean, Like you say, Eddie, very well spotted. As Jake Rolls come away from the wall after clipping point 2, he was very middle of the track shallow, and that kind of shut the door for Alexis Drew, and then that pushed Alexis Drew offline. We're going to go back to a replay from Samco Sport. And yeah, you could just see, after the initiation, you were right, you spotted it 110%. Nice initiation from Jake Rolls, though. Throws the car in on a very, very wide line. Alexis Drew, you know, not as wide as what we'd like to see, but look at this from Jake Rolls. Drops offline massively, transitions and shuts the door on Alexis Drew. Now that forces Drew offline, so kind of puts him in a sticky situation. And then from there on out, Jake Rolls struggles to get back on that wide qualifying line. So not sure how this one's going to play out, Eddie.
So there you have it. They head back to the line in, and we switch them around, and we'll be hoping for something a little bit better this time around. And again, it just goes to show how scrappy things can get when people do come off that qualifying line, and you can see why the judges will reward a good lead run, even if it means that the chase driver had that proximity.
Exactly.
They have essentially made it easy for the chase driver to chase them, but by doing the right thing.
The right thing, yeah, exactly. So they are swapped around. They are ready to go. And we're just waiting for our judges. They're just having an in-depth conversation. Yep, we are ready to go. It will be Alexis Drew to lead out Jake Rolls for a limited place in top 16. Not many left now, as they are side by side now.
Yeah, Rolls getting a little bit of a jump on the line there. Just had to ease off the throttle to allow Drew to get ahead of him so he could tuck in behind into that chase position. As Drew now starts to pull a little bit of gap. Will we see the dive from Rolls as they come into the second wall zone?
Yeah, here he comes. A little bit of a gain in proximity there, but a huge straighten there from Jake Rolls as he struggles to keep up with that big Corbu R34.
That's it, Ian. You know, Drew on a lot of angle there. Rolls very straight behind him and still not managing to gain any ground. This looking good from Alexis Drew as he sends it over the line. Guys, put your hands together for Alexis Drew and Jake Rolls.
So we wait for the judges to get their score put into our new system, Eddie. You can just see our judges working hard. They're taking notes as well.
Yes.
Taking notes, putting in scores.
The level of concentration on Dave Egan's face is immense.
You just see our pro drivers up there and spotters on top of that. On top of Simon Perry's rig.
Possibly the coldest
The coldest place at Rockingham. Yeah, that is for sure, yeah. So judges just deliberating this one. And
yeah, our marshal waiting patiently to deliver the message to the drivers as to who's going through and whose weekend will end at top 32. And of course, things really start to heat up once we get into that top 16 bracket, and really starts to move on and flow from there. Top 16 into top 8 and final 4. And you know, before you know it, we're handing out podium trophies.
Yep, someone will be taking home some silverware today, and don't forget that all-important top 4 from today, Eddie, go into tomorrow's pro class, and they get to play with the big boys tomorrow on the main show.
I know it's early. Who would you call at this stage to take home the win today? We've just seen Ryan Caldwell be taken out in the top 32, albeit by mechanical failure, possibly.
Christensen's.
That's who you reckon?
Yeah.
Okay.
Consistency. He's been super consistent all day. So we've got a result. Left for Drew, right for Rolls. Who's it going to be? Who's going to take a place in the top 16? Oh, one more time from all 3 judges. It's a unanimous decision. We're going to go one more time. We're just going to head to our judges quickly for this one. Dave.
Yeah. Wasn't much to write home about that one now. Look, it's very difficult when there's nothing great in either run to really pick it apart. In the first run, Rolls is very slow. Like, he's almost going backwards. He's just about getting through the track, but it's actually very slow and very difficult to chase. However, Alexis Drew dives off the qualifying line when he's the faster car and cuts the track way too much. He's just on the inside of the track. He's probably 25 feet away from where he should be. And especially behind a slower car, he should really be following the quarter panel there. So little bit of an advantage to Rolls after the first, but a very generous one from us. And the second run, Rolls, he's in the fight until we get to just in front of us here at clip 3. Straightens massively. I think it might be just the track drying out for him, but he put the foot down. He drove almost, 40 feet through the middle of the track, which was a bit bad. And Alexis Drew's lead run was actually very good. However, there was a bit of proximity from Rolls throughout the run, so sort of switched it the other way for us, an advantage to Alexis Drew. All in all, a lot of mistakes, nothing pretty. we really want to see that go one more time because we're clutching at straws trying to find a winner there when so many mistakes over both runs.
So there you have it, Dave Egan struggling to be nice about what we saw on that one. But you know what? Both these guys have far more talent than what was on display there, and that's what we want to see. We want to see guys go out and win the battle, and not two guys just fight over who can make the most mistakes.
Exactly, and I was going to go back to that Jake Rolls. I see that guy 2-3 weeks ago here at Rockingham Motor Speedway. He put on the drive of his life, and he drove the wheels off this little compact. I want to see him do it again. I know Alexis Drew's got a good drive in him. I want to see that again. So ready for the one more time. We only get one. There's just one more time, one more battle, and that is it. Judges have to make a decision. So off the line, Jake Rolls to lead out Alexis Drew for a place in top 16. And look at this, Jake Rolls, huge separation this time.
Yeah, big gap opens up as Rolls throws it into that first corner, and look again, having to cut the track is Alexis Drew. The judges talked about it already. He has the pace, he should have the pace rather, for Jake Rolls, but yeah, big sacrifice of line here.
Yeah, Alexis Drew making huge sacrifices, like I say, but look at this lead run from Jake Rolls, Eddie. This is the Jake Rolls that we see 3 weeks ago. Very, very good. Look at this, nice and wide, just shy of clipping point 6 there, ever so slightly, but not straight cutting the track whatsoever, keeping the pedal in, not got the power that Drew's got, but Drew making a whole host of mistakes behind.
Yeah, and look, that's what we mean when we say we want to see these guys go out and win it, and not just, battle for, who can make the least amount of mistakes. That was what we wanted. It was there for one of these drivers to go and grab the bull by the horns, and now Alexis Drew has an uphill battle on his hands.
Yeah, definitely, 100%. He's going to have to really, really apply the pressure to himself. He's going to have to drive that car 100%, because I've got the feeling now that Jake Rolls is going to stick that car on the quarter panel Alexis Drew skyline, because he wants that win. He wants to progress through to top 16. So we're on the start line, ready to go.
Yeah, the problem here for Alexis Drew is that he's in the lead position, so it's very hard to force an error. He needs to put in a perfect lead run and just hope that Rolls doesn't have an answer for him. But look at this, side by side as they come out of the traps. Rolls is right on the rear bumper of that R34 as they throw it into the first corner, and again, just not getting out to that wide line for Alexis Drew. This not the answer that he wanted to provide. There is that separation, but it hasn't been a perfect line so far.
Yeah, Alexis Drew, like you say, Eddie, bang on the money there, not getting wide out onto that wide line. Now Jake Rolls doing a good job, stays on the qualifying line, doesn't try and cut the circuit to gain that proximity. And this is actually a better line than what Alexis Drew's got, so this could go either way as Jake Rolls transitions. Alexis Drew nice and wide, but rolls all the way to the wall, just a little wall run there.
And you can guarantee Samco Sport are going to be showing us that one again. But I mean, just to go back to some of the information that the judges gave to the drivers earlier on in briefing, is that if the lead driver is offline and you have reasonable proximity, then follow him. But if you don't have proximity, by all means keep to that qualifying line, and that's exactly what Rolls did there. So we go back to, look at this replay, just inch perfect.
Yeah, absolutely perfect wall run there from Jake Rolls.
Just manages to avoid breaking his rear light, and
Mike Walton's backlight.
Yeah, Mike Walton's backlight. Yeah, had it been his own car, he would have just
hit it. Yeah. So we wait for a decision. You can see the rain has started to fall again, I do believe, Eddie, here, ever so slightly.
Yeah, just a tad bit cold here in Rockingham at the moment, but the weather is promised for better tomorrow as the results come through. David Egan going with Alexis Drew, Kieran Hines and Ryan. Alexis Drew, all three judges in favour of Alexis Drew. We go to our judges to talk us through that one.
Yeah, I mean, it was a better battle that time. We actually had less errors to go from. Rolls had put in a better lead run, but Drew stayed with proximity there. It was still a little bit scrappy and a bit on the inside of the track a little bit, but he's almost within that proximity that we can allow that. But Rolls coming through with a slight advantage on the first run, but come to the second run, Drew just pulled away on the line. Rolls did what he could, but we scored 7-3 on the second run there in favour of Alexis there. Because of the proximity gap.
So there you go, judges breaking that one down for us. We move it along to our next battle, which will be Tomas Kirkwood to take on Lewis Mitchell. Tomas Kirkwood, yet another Drift Cup driver, making the grade, gaining his BDC licence this weekend, to take on a guy that's been around for a while in BDC, Lewis Mitchell, in that 1JZ, 560 horsepower, Nissan 200SX S14. So, both these guys are ready for action. You can see our start line, Marshall Malks there, gets the thumbs up from both drivers. They are good to go. It is Kirkwood to lead out Mitchell.
Yeah, and look how close these two guys are straight off the bat. As Kirkwood throws it in, but goes way too aggressive. 4 wheels off and handing Mitchell a 10-0 advantage. By the looks of it, he's taking the cone with him, bringing it for a walk around the track.
Yeah, Kirkwood really going to struggle now to get too much steering power. And Lewis Mitchell sticking it to the door just to show him that he's still there and that this isn't a game. So we're just going to try and recover our cone that Thomas Kirkwood decided to collect for us.
Yeah, the cone hunter is out. But yeah, Kirkwood, we go to the replay here provided by Samco Sport. Just to clarify, is it in fact 4 wheels off track? Certainly it looked as though it was.
Yeah, look at this.
You're 1, 2,
3 and 4.
Oh, yeah.
It's right in the edge of the white line.
Yeah. I'll put it this way, if it's not a 10-0, it's a 9.9.
It's a 9.9. So you could just see our marshals down there removing Thomas Kirkwood's front bumper.
How could the marshals have their names on their
Yeah, I know.
on their official merchandise if we don't?
Because they're more important than us, Eddie.
Of course, if you are cold in the grandstand, don't be afraid to head over to Amanda and Hannah in the official BDC merchandise tent where you can pick up all your BDC and Drift Games merch.
Yeah, these new hoodies are very comfortable, very warm.
Very warm.
Very warm.
No need for a jacket.
So on the line, Lewis Mitchell now to lead out Thomas Kirkwood. Lewis and Mitchell with that big 10-0 advantage over Kirkwood after dropping 4 wheels off. Well, this is what we're assuming, Eddie, should I say. We're assuming. Oh, maybe an issue with Kirkwood's car. Just see our start line marshal Melks under there.
Very clever use of those billboards to keep the knees
dry. So it does look like we are ready to go. We're going to get the thumbs up from both these guys. Just going to pull them up to the line.
So we switch them around for the second half of the battle. Mitchell to lead in Kirkwood. Mitchell with that assumed 10-0 advantage. We can only assume, as we are mere mortals in the world of drifting and dare not make a claim. But here we go. Yeah, you can just see Mitchell feeling like he has that advantage as well. Not pushing the boat out too far. Taking it nice and handy through the midsection as they come around. Will he try and push it out to the wall just a little bit?
Yeah, managed to get back online. You know, the initiation for me from Mitchell was a little bit sloppy. Didn't really put too much commitment into it, kind of middle of the track. And you can see now he's starting to fall offline ever so slightly. Maybe he's been overconfident, Eddie, in my eyes. He should really have took full advantage of this and stuck it all the way out on that good qualifying line like he did in qualifying. But
yeah, well, you know, you got to say no need to take unnecessary risks, and having that 10-0 advantage, sometimes we've seen it happen in the past where guys go out and try to push the boat a little bit and it goes against them. So we
get a decision, and it is unanimous. Taking the win is Lewis Mitchell. Lewis Mitchell gets the win and goes through to top 16. Congratulations to Thomas Kirkwood. He does earn his BDC license. We will be seeing him again. And there's someone in my ear. I think it's Nathan again, Eddie. I don't know what he wants this time. Nathan, what you got, mate?
And here we are with Lex, who's just finished up. He was in the last 32. He managed to defy the odds and beat his opponent. He's made it into the last 16. Let's see if we can catch a quick word with the main man himself, Lex. How are you feeling after a sterling performance?
Really excited. That was pretty intense.
And now you're back. You're going to be back shortly to whirl it down to the top 16.
Yeah.
And how are you feeling? Are you confident? Are you ready to go?
The car's working. I'm working. Tyres are working. The rain's the only thing that's making me a little bit nervous.
Well, I think you've got the facial hair to make it through to the finals. You got this. Congratulations, and we're good with the next round. Back to you guys.
I don't know what facial hair's got to do with being confident.
Yeah, well, we're both quite confident.
Yeah,
With impressive facial hair.
this is true.
Yeah. Anyway,
Moving it on.
back to drifting. The rain is now flooding the track, and you can just see Dan Tyler now will be leading in Richard McCourt.
This man's going to be in his element. I'm not going to jinx him in any way, but Dan Tyler right now will be in his element. Coming from that King of the Ring win, the 2000 2017 champion Dan Tyler. Look at that, throws that E36. It just about keeps it on circuit as Richard McCourt loses a whole host of ground now as Dan Tyler starts to pedal that M50.
Yeah, it goes back to that risk reward, and Dan Tyler took the risk. It looked as though momentarily as though he was going to wash off the track, but look at this, hugging that white line the whole way around, and McCourt doesn't have an answer, sacrificing line now to try and gain some proximity, but left massively wanting here as they cross the line. Tyler, you feel, Ian, with a massive advantage here.
Yeah, a huge advantage, and you know what, this guy, you know, he dominates when it's in the wet weather. It suits his driving style, it suits that car, you know, and it's gave him an advantage to, you know, to drive away. So, not a good place for Richard McCourt to be in right now. Let's just hope that when he leads, he can pull some distance. Look at this brilliant commitment. Look at that, just scrubs off the speed, keeps that car just about on circuit.
Yeah, it's one of those situations where if you're leaving the line and it's a case of the first driver to score a 0 would be the one to essentially be awarded that 0. And if you haul back in the hope that the lead driver does wash off the track and they don't, you leave yourself in a very poor position. And yeah, so it really is risk reward. McCourt just, I think, caught on the hop there.
Yeah, McCourt now really going to have to try and evaluate what he's going to do. He sits now in that lead position where really it's going to be very, very difficult for him to try and overturn any sort of deficit that Tyler has over him. As they get the thumbs up, we are good to go. It is Richard McCourt to lead out Dan Tyler, but look at the aggression from Dan Tyler already as they come off the start line. Dan Tyler not giving McCourt an inch as they send it in door to door through the first turn. McCourt very, very shallow on the first turn, completely misses clipping point 2. And look at Dan Tyler.
Yeah, Dan Tyler really just looking for the knockout punch here as opposed to leaving this one in the judges' hands.
Oh, and a straight in there from McCourt, giving Dan Tyler the advantage to gain even more ground as McCourt now starts to get absolutely hunted down by the little BMW.
Yeah, tap of the front brakes there from Tyler and showing the level of talent and car control that he possesses as he maintains very impressive proximity all the way around. Conditions here in treacherous right now.
Yeah, the weather is absolutely pounding down here at round 1 of BDC at Rockingham Motor Speedway. As you can see, wipers on full speed and our camera absolutely drenched. So our judges just having a little bit of a deliberation there before they drop their scores in. It does look like we have a decision. Right for McCourt, left for McCourt, right for Tyler. Who's it going to be going through to the top 16? And it is unanimous. Taking the win and going through is Dan Tyler. Dan Tyler gets the win and goes through to top 16. Unfortunately, end of the weekend there for Richard McCourt. We head to our judges.
Yeah, that was actually a really good run from both, really good runs on both runs there from Dan Tyler. Really good lead. Rich just not having an answer for him and not keeping proximity at all, not staying on the line either. Dan Tyler, when chasing, stuck with Rich all the way around, even though Rich was not on the right line again. So Rich being penalised for the wrong line on both runs, and Dan being rewarded for a good line and also good proximity. So a good solid win there for Dan.
So there you go, Dan Tyler taking full advantage there of the situation, taking the win and going through to top 16. We move it along, Eddie. Who is next?
Well, it's Christian's Birkhoffs, and he's taking on Andy Earl. Birkhoffs qualifying in 3rd position, and the man you tipped to take the round win today.
Yeah, you know what, for me, this guy just looked very, very confident in practice. It didn't look like it was his first ever round of a championship. He looked settled, no nerves, good car control. Let's just hope I haven't cursed him. So on the line, we are good to go.
Yeah, unfortunately, all of that accounts for absolutely nothing when the weather conditions are like this. Ian. It can come down to, you know, a flick of a coin.
Yeah, and we are good to go. It is Andrew Earl to chase down Christian's Birkhoffs for a place in top 16. Oh, and Andrew Earl almost dropping 4 wheels off track and a huge straight. And look at Birkhoffs.
Yeah, Birkhoffs, no issue. Just look at how quick the wiper blade is going. That just shows you how intense the weather is. But he is nailing that outer line, and Andy Earl just has no answer. How do you follow that in?
Yeah, I mean, what an absolute drive so far from Birkhoffs. This is absolutely perfect. Look at this, perfect line, big speed. He carries huge angle on the transitions. This guy's not scared to drive that LS-powered E36. Takes it to the wall and across the line. Andrew Earl now has a battle on his hands.
Yeah, I mean, what do you even do?
What do you even do?
Yeah, because, you know, barring a spin here, he was
I mean,
Look, I think he's looking down the barrel of a 10-0 already, because if you take it here,
Birkhoffs throws it in, and Andrew Earl tries to carry the same speed, and in these weather conditions, it's very, very difficult, you know. And
yeah, look,
Birkhoffs is
1, 2, 3, and then potentially
four wheels,
followed by a massive straighten as he tries to get back on the track.
Yeah, I mean, look at this. Bang, stops drifting.
Big loss of drift there, and I have to say, it looks like a 10-0.
It looks like a 10-0.
And it does not look as though a Birkhoff has a spin in him in this weather. He looked
don't say that.
He looked so convincing out there and comfortable on that line. So they leave the line. Earl to lead in Birkhoffs. Earl needs a minor miracle here.
Oh! And what did you say, Eddie? What did you say? Birkhoff spins.
Yeah, I think we're going to have a look at that one again, just to see was he impeded in any way by the lead driver, but certainly you just can't predict it. I always say there shouldn't be commentators.
The curse of the commentator, that was in full effect right there. And Andrew Earl finishing off the run. Christian's Birkhoffs limps it back.
I mean, was there a
reason? So we're going to go back to the Samco Sport replay, have a look at this, what happens here. You know, for us, Eddie, it was a bit of a funny camera angle. Initiation.
Well, I think the big thing here is that the judges did specify that the chase driver was to go in behind, tuck in behind, and it looks as though Birkhoffs didn't do that. He tried to initiate side by side and was left then with no room to actually transition, or initiate rather.
Yep, so it just looks like we're going to try and find a better camera angle of what exactly happened here. So here you go, you can see Andrew Earl in that lead position. Oh, and we missed it. And it does look like you're right, Eddie. Like Birkhoffs was side by side with Earl when he initiated, which would in turn have forced him into the wrong position.
Yeah, so the guys from See It Live just rolling back through their various different camera angles here. We'll see from.
Here we go. So
yeah, this should tell us the story. And yeah, exactly.
And ever such a slight little bit of contact, I do believe.
Yeah, looks as though he may have tapped the door, but so.
So yeah, it looks like
Yeah, the other thing the judges might be looking at here as well, Ian, is whether or not Andy Earl was over fully to the right-hand side of the track as well, because the lead driver is under strict instructions that they must be on the right side of the track, and they can't initiate from a midpoint or to the left of the circuit.
So we're going to get the decision on that, Eddie, and then we're going to head to our judges, because that one needs a bit of a detailed explanation. Does it look like the rain has stopped finally?
All we need now is for the wind to stop.
And it to raise about 30 degrees.
Yeah, that'd be nice, wouldn't it?
It'd be lovely right now. So we're just waiting for our judges to come to a decision for this one. And a lot of deliberation going to this one. You can see there on, for you guys watching at home on the live feed, you can see our judges discussing this one heavily, even though their decision ultimately is a singular decision, which goes against it. But it looks like we are ready to hear from our judges, maybe.
So yeah, judges wanting to see this one again. So will we be looking at a one more time for these two drivers as the scores or the decisions start to drop in, and all three judges in favour of Christian Birkhoffs going through to the top 16. We need to go to the judges for that one, because certainly didn't appear to be clear cut on our end. What did you guys see?
In the first round there, Andrew Earl in the chase position dropped 3 wheels off as he came out to clip 2. And from there on, he had no proximity. So Christian had a really big advantage out the first round, an A2 from me. In the second one, this is where we had to watch the replay a few times. We have Andrew in the lead position. He initiates. He goes through clip 1. Now his job is to stay on the white line, which is the qualifying line, all around the outside towards 2. But he doesn't. He leaves clip 1 straight away and heads to the inside of the track. He was actually, front wheel was almost on the white line on the inside of the track. Christoph in the chase position, he's put in a position where does he go? If he initiates and tries to get on his door, but the car comes across the track in front of him, all he can do is just shut the engine down and try and avoid a collision. So that was completely Andrew's fault in our opinion. A zero was scored at that point, and in this case we blamed Andrew for it. So it was a 10-0 for the second one.
There you go. Judges casting blame as always, and Earl will bow out at top 32, and Birkhoffs moves on to the top 16 as we have 3 battles remaining in our top 32. First of those will be Dominic Gates against Lewis Baker, rather.
Yep, Lewis. Dominic Gates is leading Lewis Baker. Lewis Baker, the showman, 110%, 100% of the time. Can he take down, the golden guy? Get it?
Goldfinger.
The golden guy. He's the golden guy. So, Dominic Gates to leading Lewis Baker. Lewis Baker giving a lot of separation here to Dominic Gates. Dominic Gates fires that car in, manages to hold it nicely on circuit. And Lewis Baker.
Got to say, nice line here from both drivers, but Baker just with that massive mountain to climb here, left a big gap. Appeared to be caught napping when they left the line in.
Yeah, huge separation. Starts to reel it back in now as they come round this final turn, but dropping wheels, Lewis Baker.
And
a straighten. Yeah, huge straighten there from Baker.
Yeah, and it looked as though he was starting to close the gap. Both drivers were on a really good, solid outer line there, but yeah, I mean, a lot of talk about what Baker did, but Gates certainly nailing that qualifying run. Yeah. Or that qualifying line, rather.
Yeah, exactly. In lead position, Gates really did put a foot wrong. We're going to go back to our Samco Sport replay. And as you can see here from the start line, like you say, Eddie, it looked like Baker got caught napping, didn't have any sort of fight in it whatsoever, and Dominic Gates fires that car in, keeps it on good angle, good line, nice and wide. You could just see the back wheel all the way on that wide line. And then Baker, then starts to make the dive, starts to pull back a little bit of lost ground.
Yeah, but even look at the line that he takes, so wide out to that outer zone and still manages to close the gap, but then it's here.
But look at this.
Yeah.
Drops 2 wheels, and then all of a sudden, big straight and cuts the corner, has to reinitiate. Not good, not looking good for Baker in this position.
No, he's got to turn it around. He needs to put in a strong lead run, but this one's certainly not over by any means. It hangs in the balance. A couple of errors there, but with the conditions, just don't rule anybody out at any point.
No, exactly. Yeah, we've seen drivers do some crazy stuff before, so we are ready to go. It will be Baker now to lead out Gates for a place in top 16. Like you say, Eddie, 3 battles remaining in top 16, top 32, and we will move it on to top 16. Gates this time, though, not giving any room to Baker. And Baker throwing it off circuit.
Yeah, big error there in judgment for Baker. Knowing probably that he had to push a little bit harder in here on this second run, but getting all out of shape. And Dominic Gates just looks very cool, calm and collected in that chase position.
Yeah, and Lewis Baker, they're dropping wheels again, Eddie, as they come through into clipping point 5. Baker not looking strong out front at the moment, and Gates just keeping his distance and just doing what he has to do. So, such a shame, Lewis Baker there. It seemed like he'd kind of reined it in ever so slightly, got himself dialed in that car, but just a few silly errors. So we wait for the judge's decision to appear on our screen. And don't forget, like Eddie said earlier, if you're in attendance now, get yourself back tomorrow. Plenty of tickets left on the gate to come and watch. Unfortunately, I do believe Grandstand is sold out.
Sold out, yes. So standing room only, but of course unlimited standing seats or
standing seats.
Standing seats, yeah. There you go. It's a thing.
Standing seats.
Standing seats, yeah. They're new in BDC for 2018. Available.
Buy yours.
Buy yours at the gate.
And it's unanimous. Dominic Gates gets the win and advances through to top 16.
We go to the judges for a standing decision.
Thanks, guys. Okay, so first run, Gates really strong lead run. I mean, the conditions are tricky out there, but does a good job of staying to the qualifying line. Baker makes a lot of errors. He drops 2 wheels off the track. He cuts the track very badly, and he's got absolutely no proximity through the first half of the course. So pretty much, he's still on big angle in the chase position when really he should be trying to get back into the fight. So big advantage for Gates there. On the second, Gates puts in a very solid chase run. Better from Baker on the second. A little bit too much angle again. He's slow getting out of corners because he's on huge angles, so it's difficult to chase him because he's not just getting up and going, and he was quite slow. But over the 2 runs, Gates just looking more consistent, more steady, and definitely more on the qualifying line, not making any errors. So he takes an easy win there, and as I said, just a couple of too many errors for Baker.
So there you go, Baker making too many errors, forcing himself out of competition. We move it along to our next battle, which will be Philip Hayden to take on Andy Arnott.
Thanks.
Sorry, Eddie.
Yeah. So, little microphone mishap there, but thanks to my good partner Ian, I'm back in the running. So, Hayden against Arnott.
Yeah.
Hayden to lead them in, and you know what? Hayden has looked so impressive in this little compact.
Yeah, he's been very, very impressive. Did so well in Drift Cup, made his way all the way through Drift Cup, earned his place in BDC, and here he is now, proving his worth against someone who's been in the BDC for a very long time, Andy Arnott. Oh, and Andy Arnott and Hayden. Wow, both drivers fall off circuit.
Now, I do believe it was Arnott that was 4 wheels off first, but I wouldn't be willing to bet a whole lot on it. The first person to score a 0 has the 0 against their name. So it'll be interesting to watch a replay of that. Both drivers appear to put 4 wheels off on first glance.
Yeah, like you say, Eddie, we'll go back to a replay, our Samco Sport replay, in just a minute after this run is complete. And it will be, the decision ultimately will be down to who fell off track first. Was it Andy Arnott or was it Philip Hayden? Both these guys, just underestimating the grip levels on the track here. And here we go. So Hayden throws it off. So Andy Arnott, look at that. Andy Arnott. Andy Arnott by inches.
Yeah, I mean, that's a slowed down version. It was a lot quicker in real life. But yeah, it's pretty clear cut based on the replay there. And Hayden with a very lucky 10-0 advantage, you have to say.
Exactly. So we are swapping back around now. It will be Andy Arnott to chase down. Andy Arnott to lead out Philip Hayden for a place in top 16. Now, can Philip Hayden keep it on circuit? Can Andy Arnott keep it on circuit? Can we get a clean run out of both of these guys? We're about to find out. They're off the line. Arnott to lead in Philip Hayden. You see Philip Hayden balancing that car on a foot brake as he throws it in. Oh, and Hayden with another understeer. But Andy Arnott falls off track, 2-3 wheels off circuit. Hayden doing a good job to avoid contact there, Eddie.
Yeah, and you can see Hayden having to stop drifting, and the judges will deem that the cause, based on Andy Arnott's line, making it just too difficult for the chase driver. So very scrappy run here, but it's one that just never really got going in.
No, exactly. Yeah, the momentum from the initiation really kind of died, and Hayden behind. It looks like he's having an absolute nightmare trying to twin with Andy Arnott. Not sure whether it's just completely upset Hayden's flow there from the initiation, or...
Yeah, and I suppose the question would be, were all those errors caused by the line of Hayden? That would be an interesting one to hear the judge's opinion on, although they may not give us an opinion based on the first run.
Yeah, so we just wait for their score to drop in.
There's Tom Hanks.
And
Wilson.
He must feel confident. Everybody in the tower has a beard. I just want to state that fact. There's a fact for you. The first fact of BDC 2018, everybody in the tower has a beard.
The bearded brotherhood.
The bearded brotherhood of the BDC. Even Kieran Hines looks weathered. He looks weathered now with that beard.
He looks a little bit like Roy Keane as well. So
just go back to a replay here. Judges just wanted to see what happened here on the initiation, but that is the wrong one, so we're going to just flip it around again. Andy Arnott, sends it in very, very late, falls off track. Yeah, Hayden kind of shuts it down because he's anticipating that Andy Arnott's going to fall off circuit and may return, and Hayden wants to avoid that contact. But then, for me, Hayden doesn't really then get going. But he stops drifting again there when Andy Arnott, keeps in it. And they were told in the briefing earlier this morning, Eddie, that if there's an error and you both have to straighten, or there's a 0, you have to complete the run. The run has to be completed. Andy Arnott does fulfil that requirement, even with a cheeky little wall run there at the end.
Very cheeky.
A very cheeky little wall run. But yeah, look, Philip Hayden, makes a whole load of errors.
Not one I'd like to be a judge for.
Definitely not.
So, we await the judges' decisions. Who are they going to go? One more time, one more time, one more time.
It's unanimous. We're going to go one more time, one more time. It's going to be Hayden and Arnott to go one more time. We're going to go to our judges.
The first run there, first of all, we have a rule which states first one to score a 0 loses the battle. So in the first run, Andy actually had 4 wheels off the track before Philip put his 4 wheels off. So in the first run, Andy had got a 0 for that one. And in the second run, Philip coming out towards clip 4, just there on the wall, has a massive straight line, and he actually drives in the straight line for maybe 10 or 15 metres. Scoring the 0 for that one, so it's a one more time.
So there you go, one more time, Eddie. We're going to see him go again. Now this time, hopefully we get a clean battle, and it's an easy decision for our judges. It will be Hayden to lead out Arnott. Limited places left, and only one more time to get it done. Let's just hope these guys now have adjusted themselves to the grip levels that are still available on circuit as Hayden throws that car in. Big speed from Hayden.
Yeah, can he control it though?
Oh, and he can't.
Yeah, and you know what, Ian? You have to say, why is he making that mistake too? A second time. Like, I mean, that's losing run of himself. Really, not a sensible approach. You could see straight away that he was carrying far too much speed, and Arnott really struggling in the chase position as well here, and a calamity of errors.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the only reason to suggest that Philip Hayden did that was just inexperience. Pressure of a battle within this championship. We know he wants to win it. We know he wants to advance through to top 16. I just think that he panicked a little bit, and he thought that really the way to try and drive around it was to gain some ground.
Yeah, and to be fair, look, we do say we want to see drivers go out there and try and win it, but yeah, just unfortunate for him. Too much. You could just see straight away carrying just so much pace on a very wide line, leaving no room for error, and just insufficient grip in the front tyres there to actually keep himself on track.
Yeah, exactly. So unfortunate there for Hayden. So that will be, I presume, will be a 10-0 advantage for Andy Arnott. But now, can Andy Arnott make it around the first turn without falling off the circuit? So we're just checking over Andy Arnott's car, making sure it's not damaged in any way.
Yeah, of course, our marshal's always just on the lookout to see if there's anything that could be potentially a hazard to the drivers or potentially unsafe before they leave the line. Very few, if any, casualties and injuries in the sport of drifting to date, but that's exactly how we want to keep it as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Safe and fun. That's exactly what we like to do here, Eddie. Safe and fun. And serious. So we're good to go. We get the thumbs up from our track marshals. Our drivers give us the thumbs up. Can we get a clean run out of this? It is Hayden to chase down Arnott. Arnott with that 10-0 advantage, we assume. Now Arnott lays it down, does manage to keep that car on circuit this time, and Hayden this time now manages to balance that little compact behind.
Yeah, this is much better from both drivers here, and starting to display the level of talent that they actually possess. Possibly one of the best runs we've seen here from Arnott all day today as he hugs that outer line, and Hayden keeps that nice proximity here. Hayden needs to get closer and try and force an error just in the final stage. Both drivers just washing out to that outer zone as opposed to, I suppose, getting there in a controlled fashion. And wall taps as they cross the line and into the result box.
And some steam from the rear of Andy Arnott's car. Yeah, I've just been told it's getting hot. It's overheating ever so slightly, so yeah, you can just see the rear mounted radiator in there. So we do have a decision. Left for Arnott, right for Hayden. Who's it going to be? Who's going through to the top 16? Kieran, David and Ryan, all unanimous. It's Andy Arnott. Andy Arnott gets the win and goes through to the top 16. No need to come to the judges. 4 wheels off track is a 0. We was right, Eddie, so we do know what we're talking about.
Yep.
It's only been 10 years.
Yeah, pros at this stage, you know.
Yeah.
So, final battle in our top 32. 32? 32?
32.
Look at this, will spin. So of course, just
and
watching.
then there's you.
And there's me. Guaranteed to spin if you put me behind the wheel. So one more battle to go. Hayden
And Ross Parr. Yeah, I mean, Hayden Cruikshank in that 600 horsepower. Is it a Laurel, I do believe? I think it is. Or is it a Toyota Chaser? Can't remember off the top of my head.
Don't know, don't care.
It looks
Do
like...
you know who we should ask?
Who?
That new guy. What's his name? He'd probably know. He seems to be very educated and...
Nathan, you mean?
Nathan, yeah, that's the guy. Look, in fairness to him, he seems to be...
He's picking it up well,
He's
you
picking
know,
it up, yeah.
and I think he's making friends in the paddock. I think everyone's like, you know, they're gelling to him. I mean, it takes a while.
Yeah.
It took a while for everyone.
Gelling, pity, showing pity maybe.
It took a while for everyone in Ireland to, you know, warm to me. And same with you, Eddie. You come over and everyone kept saying, why is Eddie in the UK? And I said, like, leave him alone. He's a nice guy.
Everybody in the UK loves me.
That's debatable, Eddie. We're moving it along.
Matt Stevenson and Team Slide Motorsport beg to
Yeah,
differ.
they do.
They all love me.
They appreciate you
Yeah.
being here. I appreciate you being here, Eddie.
Thanks, man. Who's Eddie?
Who's Eddie? So we're just waiting to get Andy Onor off the circuit. As you can see, they're just recording some recovery from our amazing Rockingham Speedway safety team.
Nissan Navara safety. Remember, kids, safety first.
So Andy Onor is clear off the start line.
Yeah, and he'll be hoping to get whatever issue it is sorted in time for his top 16 battle. As we mentioned, one more space up for grabs in that top 16. Will it be Cruikshank? How do you pronounce that surname?
Cruikshank.
Cruikshank.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. It's not one you'd want to be trying to say fast.
Or after a few beers.
Or after a few minutes.
So on the line, Hayden Cruikshank made his way up from Drift Cup last year. Another driver making the grade as well, Ross Parr. These guys go head to head for a spot in the top 16 and someone to battle Andy Onor for a place in the grade 8. Off the line, Cruikshank to lead, Ross Parr to give chase. And look at this from Cruikshank. Cruikshank, a regular at Ibisu in Japan, drifting in the snow and the rain and all sorts of weather conditions, not phased, Eddie. Look at that, threw that big heavy car in. But look at Ross Parr now hunting down the door.
Yeah, Ross Parr using every last bit of the 190 brake horsepower that he has on offer here while he waits for his own car to be built. But look at this, starting to close in now on the door of Hayden as they transition back. This is what we want to see from our top 32 competitors. Nice fluid run from both drivers, and as they cross the line, grandstand, make some noise.
Oh yeah, grandstand are awake. They're enjoying it. They're cold and damp, but they're enjoying the action. It's been a long off season.
You see, they're in those new standing seats.
They're enjoying those new standing seats. Yeah, look at this from Cruikshank. Very, very good initiation. Very, very fluid line. A very, very good line there from Cruikshank. And you know what? Ross Parr does a very, very good job. Very, very good job in that chase position. No, you know what? Not a whole lot wrong from both those guys. They're going to be a very, very hard battle to split. But now can Cruikshank chase down Ross Parr in that little...
Yeah, Ross Parr seemed to be in the break that car running 190 brake horsepower on a good day.
With the wind behind it.
Yeah, downhill. So you can imagine probably, 140 max maybe.
Max, yeah, exactly.
But in the wet it makes no difference.
So we're good to go. Our start line marshal is going to give him the thumbs up. This is for the last spot in top 16. Oh, and a jump off the line for Ross Parr. He's eager for the win, and big wheel spin for Cruikshank. Could this be the nail in the coffin for Cruikshank? He needs to make up a lot of ground now, but Ross Parr throws that car in very, very shallow.
Yeah, cuts the course a little bit as Cruikshank starts to slowly reel him back in, and big error there from...
Yeah, Ross Parr throws in an over rotation.
It almost looked like he tried to dial big angle and then just hit a load of sand.
Yeah, such a shame, such a shame. Looked like he had a really good drive. Cruikshank started to make up the proximity, but you know what? Ross Parr panicked, threw it on big angle, and so we are going to go to our Samco Sport replay just to see what happened there.
No, we only go to the Samco Sport replay if there's a wall run.
No, we go to it all the time now. Look at this. Ross Parr, very, very good initiation. You know, very fast. Caught Cruikshank just having a little nap on the line. Good run from Parr right up until this moment. Transitions, almost over rotates, and yeah, then has to shut it down. And so we just await for our decision to make it official and the final spot in top 16 to be taken. Who's going to take it? Is it Cruikshank or Parr? And it's unanimous. Taking the winner going through is Hayden Cruikshank. Of course, that half spin Eddie is a 10-0 advantage to Cruikshank, so Parr is out of competition. We move it along. So, yeah, I think Nathan's around. Nathan, you got some hot news for us.
So here we are down. We're just with Mr. Onor at the minute, who's encountering a bit of a problem with his vehicle. To quote him, I believe the problem is we need to find out why the car won't start, which I feel is quite an intricate part of the entire drifting scene. Any words on what's wrong with the vehicle at the minute?
Your guess is as good as mine.
Well, I would guess that something's wrong.
Guys, yeah, I'd say it's foobarred.
Well, we've got a cracking team here that are trying to get the problem sorted. He's learned to drift. Have you just started? Is that what this is about? Are you a learner in the sport? Or is this just a bit of ironic irony?
I'm learning this car. First time I've ever driven it today.
And how's that going?
Different.
Different indeed. Well, we hope the best of it.
Is it me and you?
I don't think he's pointing at me. So yeah, we're going to find out how Mr. Onor's getting on. So the best of luck to you guys.
Hi! Guess what?
Mr. Cruikshank, what are you doing, you rascal? Go on!
I'm up against him.
Who are you against?
It has been a long time coming. This guy started with a Learn to Drift Academy.
So he was Mr. Cruikshank. He was
Yeah.
there when it all began.
Yep.
But what year was
at Bovingdon, wasn't it?
over in Bovingdon? A lot of history in Bovingdon, such
4
as.
years ago.
Or, well,
Look
there's
how
all.
well he's come on.
I'm watching it all. We've got Cruikshank, we've got Onor, we've got cars trying to be fixed. All part of the fun. We'll be back to you with you up here at the BDC.
Yeah, I don't know if he's down there making friends or enemies, Eddie, but
He's like a wart, he'd grow on you.
he's definitely making some stories here at BDC Round 1. But on the line, we move it along to the first battle of top 16. It's Lee Scott to lead out Tomas Falvey for a place in Grade 8.
Yeah, our first battle in the top 16, and could we see Tomas Falvey overcome our highest qualifier, Lee Scott? We've already seen Caldwell go out. And look at the aggression from Falvey as they exit the traps nice and deep into that outer zone from both drivers, but Scott now putting the power down and starting to break away from Tomas Falvey.
Yeah, Tomas Falvey looks like he's being left for dead at the moment as Lee Scott absolutely hammers that RB25 under the bonnet of that E46. Perfect car control from Scott as Falvey now starts to make a few dives to try and gain proximity, but Scott is absolutely flawless.
Yeah, Scott there just seems to be no chink in the armour.
Yeah, Lee Scott, you know what, it just looks flawless today, you know. From practice all the way through qualifying, even in changing weather conditions. Look at this from Lee Scott, throws that car in, nice angle, follows that outside line, absolutely perfect on a very, very good line. Tomas Falvey, you know, it drops a few mistakes here and there, but we're just nitpicking because apart from that, it was absolutely perfect twin battle, just lacking that proximity.
Yeah, I think his run is made look worse by how good Lee Scott is, you know, which, you know, Alan Hines would would tell you just how good Lee Scott is, you know, always going on about it.
Yeah, he loves Lee Scott. He said, you know, he's one of the guys that he looks up to. So we move it along, and Tomas Falvey now to lead out Lee Scott. This one. Could Lee Scott now overcook it, put himself in a situation where he forces himself out of the battle? As Tomas Falvey absolutely sends it in, but look at Lee Scott not giving Falvey an inch as they fire these cars in side by side.
Yeah, bumper to bumper here, and the aggression from Lee Scott, the level of car control from this young man is phenomenal. as he bullies Tomas Falvey. But look at this from Falvey, throws it out to the wall.
Absolutely phenomenal from Falvey. Falvey on a perfect line, but look at Lee Scott now hunting down the door. No contact from Lee Scott. Lee Scott balancing that car with absolute precision. Falvey absolutely dialed as they bring it across the line.
Ian, you got to hand it to Falvey there. He pulled something massive out of the bag there, but just Scott all over him. A phenomenal talent, but a battle worthy of a final.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, too soon to be seeing it in top 16. What about, we're just going to quickly relive that one on our Samco Sport replay. And you know what, Lee Scott can already smell that M-Tech Brakes podium. He can already taste that champagne in his mouth, Eddie. He wants it, he's hungry for it today.
He's not allowed to have champagne.
Oh, we'll get him some sparkling water. We'll give him a can of Monster.
Yeah, by the way, have you tried this Manic Melon Monster Hydro?
I definitely have, young man. It's perfect.
Phenomenal.
So, right, for Lee Scott, it's unanimous. Lee Scott gets the win and advances through to the Great Eight. Unfortunately, Tomas Falvey just couldn't do enough to overturn the win. We go to our judges.
Yeah, that was an incredible battle there. Falvey doing what all he could to keep with Lee, but Lee just absolutely showing a masterclass there, as David rightly pointed out there, taking advantage both lead and chase run there. Brilliant driving from Lee. Falvey unlucky there, but yeah, Lee through.
Yeah, Falvey, I think, very unlucky that he came up against Scott at such an early stage, because certainly looked to be very much on form, but just didn't have an answer for the speed of Scott. And I'm not sure if there's anybody on the grid that does, based on what we've seen so far. But we got to move it on to our next top 16 battle, which will see Kirsty Whittington taking on Stephen Fitzgerald. Stephen Fitzgerald looking very comfortable out on track so far. And I think this could be a very close battle, as Kirsty really starting to grow into the round as well.
Yeah, exactly. She's finding her feet more and more as we progress through this day today here at round one. But you know what, Fitzgerald looks like he's come over to make a mark in the BDC. You know, he's not going down without a fight. Can Whittington take him down, as Fitzgerald leads out Whittington for a place in the Great Eight? And listen to the aggression from Fitzgerald as he fires that car in. Whittington, though, very late on initiation, and he's caught her out massively, Eddie, as she starts to drop wheels. Fitzgerald finds himself in the middle of the circuit now. He's panicking, trying to gain some grip, as you can hear that car absolutely smashing the rev limiter. But look at Kirsty Whittington starting to bring back the fight, Eddie.
Yeah, she certainly is bringing herself back into it, but it's hard to know, will it be enough? Fitzgerald missing a couple of clips now, just as they start to fall offline. Kirsty brings it back, but just can't get close enough to make this a fair fight going into the final sections. But you got to give her respect. Makes that error on entry. Maybe just held back a little bit too much and then got caught out trying to regain proximity. Doesn't drop four wheels though, Ian, which is vital in...
Yeah, she drops wheels. Like you say, she held back a little bit on initiation, then tried to make a dive on the initiation, which, you know, she couldn't carry that kind of speed in these weather conditions. Fitzgerald drives away, but you can just see absolutely smashing the rev limiter, trying to put some distance between him and Kirsty Whittington. But Kirsty, look at, you know, tries to gain it back, Eddie, but it's not good behind. It's a scrappy chase run. But then Fitzgerald dropping wheels, not on a good line. It's going to be a hard one for the judges to try and split this one.
Of course, we still do have the second half of this battle as well. Kirsty will be leading in Stephen.
So judges going over and over this, Eddie. You guys in attendance can't see, but the judges just looking at replays. But it does look like we are good to go, and it is Kirsty Whittington to lead in Stephen Fitzgerald for the second half of this battle. And Kirsty,
look at the line here, Ian, from Kirsty Whittington, absolutely nailing it, and left Stephen for dead here, and he really has an uphill battle to climb.
Yeah, Kirsty ever so slightly falling offline there, but Fitzgerald cutting the circuit to try and gain proximity, and this is not good from Fitzgerald. He's panicking now, Eddie. He can't make the dive, he can't gain proximity. And Kirsty Whittington finishes off the run.
Yeah, she made that look so easy.
Yeah. You know what, one little error from me, and that was the transition coming into the wall into clipping point 4. Kirsty was just ever so slightly shy of the clip, but Fitzgerald behind made a whole host of errors. So not sure if we're going to see a replay of this or if the judges are clear cut. So yeah, we're just going to go back to a replay. You can see Kirsty fires it in, nice angle, good line. Fitzgerald keeps a hold of it, but this is where he kind of starts to lose some ground, and he washes very, very wide, just on the outside edge of that circuit. But here, Kirsty Widdrington drops a clipping point. She's not as wide as what Fitzgerald is. But then Fitzgerald, look at this, absolutely cuts the circuit, cuts that corner to get back on the door, doesn't manage to make up the ground, and then scrubs off too much speed by dialing on so much lock. Scrappy chase driving from Fitzgerald.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the line from Kirsty, not perfect, okay,
No,
fair enough. But, I mean, it's not shallow by any means, you know, considering the conditions, very hard to find fault with it, in my opinion.
So judges talking about this one in depth. Kirsty Widdrington, like we say, a seasoned pro.
Yeah, and it would be a massive boost to her confidence if she could see herself into the grade 8. She would go up against Lee Scott. And, you know,
her weekend just doesn't get any easier.
What a story that would be, you know, if she could take down the top qualifier. But of course, she has to go through this battle first, and we are still waiting for the judges to finish deliberating. You can see Kieran Hines just weighing in with his opinion, wavering his hand in explanation. Of course, Kieran with a wealth of knowledge and experience behind him, schooling the two boys on the art of judging.
The two youngsters.
The two young'uns.
So just waiting for our judges to come to their decision.
Yeah, if they wouldn't mind just hurrying up, as it's not exactly warm.
I hate to tell you, Eddie, but we've got a whole grade 8 to get through yet, mate.
Yeah, but the thing about the grade 8 is it's great.
Oh, okay, so it warms it up a little bit.
It does, yeah.
And the level of driving is going to get so hot, it's going to heat up Rockingham Motor Speedway, is that right?
That's exactly it. There's a heat wave about to hit Rockingham. So, do we have a decision from our judges? They go to their pads. No, they're still deliberating over this one in.
Yeah, still can't come to a decision on this one, but it looks like they do have a decision. The graphic is up. Left for Widdrington, right for Gerald. Kieran says Widdrington. David says one more time. Ryan says one more time. We're going to go one more time. Judges, over to you on that one.
That's a tough one, Ian. Yeah, myself and Ryan going one more time. Kieran going the other way. Look, Kirsty's actually better over the two runs, all in all. But the big thing she does wrong is that three-wheel drop on the first initiation. It's almost a zero. And from there, she does fight back in, and she's on a better, but she's at such a disadvantage, she sort of claws her way back into the battle. Fitzgerald's line is poor on both runs, but he's not really making massive errors. He's just got a poor line throughout. So I felt if you take a poor line from Fitzgerald over the two runs, and you look at Kirsty with being better in terms of a line, but a massive error balancing it off, I think it was even across both runs, and I'd like to see them run one more time.
Yeah, I just want to add, when it comes to the three wheels off, you should realise that the car in front of her actually had one wheel off. So in a way she was slightly laid off, if that made sense. So whereas it was three wheels off, I didn't think the error was so big that it wasn't enough to take away the little bit of advantage she made overall the rest.
So there you have it from our judges, and of course, always good to hear the various opinions that they have, and it is a judge sport, and those opinions will vary, and they will, try and make the best call based on the information that they've given to the drivers and what they see with their own eyes. So it is a one more time, and it will be Fitzgerald to lead in Widdrington.
Yeah, look at this, a much better initiation from Fitzgerald. This time carries good speed, but look at Widdrington, not scared this time.
Oh, so unfortunate there, because Kirsty was on a better line, but just dials in too much angle and makes a big error.
Yeah, such a shame for Widdrington there. As Fitzgerald absolutely smashes the rev limiter.
Yeah, you can feel the pops and bangs as he goes past the judging tower.
Now Kirsty Widdrington just trying to save something back of this battle as she desperately tries to claw it in, trying to catch up with Fitzgerald. Oh, do you know what, Eddie? Such a shame, because if there wasn't for that mistake, that would have been door and door all the way round, and I think Kirsty Widdrington would have come out with an advantage.
You can see her shaking her head. She knows herself, and such a promising start. But it just goes to show how minor an error can affect the overall run. So we switch them around. Kirsty to lead them in. Can she have a strong lead run again? And will Stephen be able to keep with her this time? Something that he wasn't able to achieve on the first run.
Yeah, we're about to find out. We get the thumbs up. Our judges are ready. They are good to go, Eddie, for the last time in this battle. It's Whittington to lead out Fitzgerald. Look at Fitzgerald, a little bit of aggression, but backs out of it.
Yeah,
Eddie.
really did back out there and loses a little bit of ground. And again, the line from Kirsty is spot on, using every last inch of the track as she throws it down onto the wall. And Fitzgerald, he's really going to have to pull something out of the back. Does go that little bit wider, but Kirsty on a solid line here again.
Yeah, Fitzgerald absolutely using every inch of power, but another mistake there. Oh!
And hits the pothole.
Wow, a half spin from Fitzgerald, a straighten from Whittington. Not sure which way this is going to go, Eddie. This is going to be a tight one.
Yeah, all we know is that it can't be scored as a one more time.
No, it can't be scored as a one more time. Judges now have to make a decision on who they feel was the better driver to advance through to Grade 8. Whittington looks like she made a small mistake before where the pothole was, like you said, Ellie, before Fitzgerald did the over-rotation, so... So we're just waiting to get our decision from our judges. So the graphics are up. We do have a decision for our judges. Left for Kirsty, Kieran, David, Ryan, unanimous. Kirsty Whittington gets the win and advances through to the Grade 8. We go to our judges. Judges are not the cleanest of one more times either. It could have gone either way, that one.
Well, it could have gone either way, but the way it went was Mr. Fitzgerald spinning around almost in a circle. And to be honest, it was kind of a repeat of the first couple of errors from both drivers. Nothing clean. But Kirsty kept it together on that second run. And Fitzgerald over-rotates as he comes towards the second last wall run. It's enough for me to be a 9-1 against him. It's almost a coming to a standstill. And after a pretty scrappy battle, it was the deciding factor for us making that decision.
So there you have it. Kirsty Whittington goes through to the Grade 8 where she will face our top qualifier, Lee Scott. And you know what? I wouldn't bet on her taking him down.
Yeah, exactly.
She's going to be up against it, but, you know.
It could go either way, and we've seen her take down some big names so far. But on the line now, for another place in top in the Grade 8, it will be Alistair Sutton to take on Farrar. Alistair Sutton in that lead position, the young gun, the new boy on the block, Eddie.
Yeah, the young gun versus the top gun, because Farrar rocking those aviators.
And look at this, Alistair Sutton firing that E36 in and managing to keep it absolutely nailed to the outside line. But look at Farrar, Eddie, not scared to send that car in as well. Got the confidence in the young guy to keep it going. The 2017 Drift Cup champion. Yeah. Absolutely flying.
Yeah, a bit of a straighten there, Farrar in the chase position, but keeps the shoe in, and he maintaining consistent proximity all the way through the coursing.
Yeah, very good proximity from Farrar. Doesn't look, makes a little error there on the transition. Got himself in the wrong place of the track to transition. But
yeah, was it that Sutton maybe slowed up just ever so slightly, causing him to have to back out a little bit? But Farrar in the Ferrari.
No, it's not a Ferrari.
It's red.
That's as close as it's going to get to a Ferrari. You're thinking of hot things, aren't you, Eddie?
I am.
Just to keep you going.
I'm thinking on hot thoughts.
So Farrar now in that lead position. Sutton to give chase. We know Sutton's got a killer chase game in him. Can he put it into play as he takes on the seasoned pro of Farrar? Judges still talking about the first half of that battle. Just trying to come to a decision before we let these guys run.
Yeah, Ryan there trying to figure out how he can be negative about the run. See Malks there just doing his workout. His DVD available in all good stores. The Malks walk, as they call it.
The Malks walk. The Malks warmer.
Not sure what that move is.
No, nor am I, but we get the thumbs up from our drivers. Melks is ready to go. So are our guys on the start line. It will be a Farrar to lead in Alistair Sutton. Look at Sutton bringing the fight already as Farrar sends it in, grabs a little bit of understeer, but manages to keep in it. Sutton giving him some room, but slightly offline. Now Farrar starts to pull a little bit of a gap, and Sutton very straight.
Very straight, yeah, you're right, Ian. Well spotted in the chase position there. Sutton having quite the waver, and you can just see a lot of drivers finding themselves on the line with that pothole there, and Farrar lucky that it didn't cause them to over-rotate. And as they cross the line, not a bad run by either driver, but again, just not setting the world alight either.
No, you know, for me, it was just a few straight-ins. You know, Sutton kind of got himself in the wrong place on circuit and ended up having to straighten ever so slightly to avoid contact. Not the most ideal situation. Could have knocked himself out of competition. We're going to wait to find out as the judges put their score in. So you can just see Alan Hines down there, brave in the cold weather, Eddie.
Yeah,
brave in the rain.
Dreaming about Lee Scott.
He's laughing. He can hear you. He can hear you nice and clear. So just waiting to get that decision from our judges. Just talking about this one over and over and over again.
Oh, God.
Are you cold, Eddie?
No, I'm just too warm.
You're too warm?
Uncomfortably warm, that's my problem. You know?
I think that's my problem. I might have to take this video off in a minute. It's just too warm.
Yeah, it's a pity, you know, that BDC don't provide mankinis for their staff, but
I wouldn't want to see that, Eddie. What I do want to see is who's going through to the Great Eight, and it is Alistair Sutton. Unanimous decision from our judges. Difficult decision, that one. How did you get to that one, Judge?
Thanks, Ian. Yeah, difficult decision is right. It came down to both drivers had very similar lead runs, good on the outside line, but both make a big error as they come down towards the end of the first horseshoe. They all cut the track before that wall run, and it sort of leaves the chase car in a sort of an awkward situation. So we both scored both lead runs fairly simple. Then you look at the proximity, both had it, both looked good, but Farrar straightens 2 or 3 times in the lap, and that's as small an error as it was. Sutton wasn't perfect, but he was close, so was Farrar, but Farrar makes a few errors in the chase position, straightening up a couple of times, looked like he was kind of struggling to keep the wheel spinning at times, and that was all it took for him just to take a very narrow disadvantage and put Sutton through to the next stage of competition.
So there you go, Sutton gets the win, goes through to the Great Eight. Who will he be battling? Will it be his good friend Oliver Bolton, or will it be Richard Dalby-Smith? This is going to be a good one.
yeah, do you know, I've had my eyes on this one, and I think this could be very, very interesting. Bolton against Dalby-Smith, Bolton qualifying well up the order, but you know what? Dalby-Smith, he came through that close battle with Walker, and he's starting just to grow in confidence here.
Yeah, look at this. Bolton hot off the press though, straight out the gate with good aggression, fires that car in. Very good car control from Bolton. Dalby-Smith starts to drop down the circuit ever so slightly to gain proximity, but look at Bolton, nice wide line as he fires that car through. Dalby-Smith though not losing too much ground, now starts to make a dive as Bolton fires his car to the wall ever so slightly off a clipping point 4, but reins it back in and gets on a very wide line, Eddie. Does Bolton. Look at this, nice and tidy. Good execution from Bolton as Dalby-Smith now starts to gain the ground. This is a perfect lead run from Bolton, making it absolutely perfect for Dalby-Smith.
A big error from Smith.
Dalby-Smith straightens massively.
Yeah, big error from Dalby-Smith there just towards the end, and you know he'd managed to maintain reasonable proximity throughout the whole thing. He was, you know, losing ground, gaining ground the whole way through, but then that big error, Ian, that's huge in the course of how this run has gone, and could it be pivotal in terms of who's going to go through?
Yeah, exactly. You know, for me, Bolton put down the perfect lead run. It made it so easy for Dalby-Smith to chase him that, you know, Dalby-Smith didn't really have any place to go wrong, but put a few feet wrong every now and then, and, you know, that straighten, that's going to cost him, Eddie. Judges are ready to see him go for the second half of this battle now. It's Richard Dalby-Smith to lead out Oliver Bolton for a place in the Great Eight. And Dalby-Smith now this time, big entry from Dalby-Smith, sends it in. Not as wide as what we'd like to see, but look at Bolton with a big dive now.
Yeah, big dive, but no, very much cuts the circuit massively, you know, way offline there to try and gain that proximity. And I can't imagine he'll be overly rewarded for that, but look at the line here from Dalby-Smith as he is pinpoint accurate all the way out to the edge of the circuit. They drop down into the midsection now as they come towards that final or last wall section. Again, just can't keep those cars as wide as they'd like, but they cross the line in, and
a difficult one. You know what? A very good run there from both those guys. Dalby-Smith did put down an absolutely brilliant lead run. Bolton, for me, made a few errors, made a few dives, got offline ever so slightly. Wasn't the cleanest from Bolton that we've seen so far. So let's just see how the judges score this one, Eddie. They're deliberating it quite a bit.
Yeah, judges, look, you can just see as Ryan gives his point of view to the other two judges.
So, judges, there you can just see Ryan just can't turn his new tablet on. There we go.
Yeah, tablets aren't exactly finger friendly when you're wearing gloves.
So, judges are inputting their scores.
Who is going through to the grade 8?
Who's going to go through to the grade 8? Who is going home? Will it be Bolton? Will it be Dalby-Smith? We're about to find out. Left for Smith, right for Bolton. Who's it going to be? Kieran goes Bolton, David goes Bolton, Ryan goes Bolton. It's a unanimous. Oliver Bolton gets the win and goes through to the grade 8. Dalby-Smith knocked out. Judges, look to me like Bolton made a whole host of errors in that second half of the battle. Is that, how did it break it down for you?
Yeah, look, it was very, very close. First run there, Richard just didn't really have the proximity to pull an advantage. They were fairly even runs apart from that. First one scored a 5-5. And the second one, I think Oliver Bolton just had a little bit more proximity through the run. Just enough to shade a 6-4 advantage. So it was close over both runs, but I just think he had that little edge.
So there you go, Oliver Bolton taking the win and going through to the grade 8. Eddie, we move it along to the second half of the bracket for top 16. It will be Paul Beaty to take on Alexis Drew.
Yeah, and of course Paul Beaty taking down a second place qualifier, Ryan Caldwell. He's coming up against Alexis Drew, and you have to feel he's going to be feeling a little bit confident going into this battle. Alexis Drew, of course, he is going to lead them in and has certainly impressed us so far, but you know, it was an interesting battle that he had with Jake Rolls, and he will have to just improve ever so slightly. But look at this, straight away from the off, leaves Beachy for dead. Now, can he keep it within the confines of the circuit? He certainly can, nailing that outer line so far. And just no answer here from Beachy yet, no proximity. Can he start to rein in Alexis Drew? But Drew not giving him an inch. Kirkwood and a big error there from Beaty, who spins, and well, that would be that, a 10-0 advantage in the favour of Alexis Drew. Just what he would want going into the second half of this battle to take the pressure off. It's never over till it's over, but a 10-0 ain't a bad way to start after your first run.
No, exactly. You know what? Uncharacteristic there of Beachy. He looked, good in the first half. And the second half of the other battles, do you know what? For me, there was a small error as he transitioned in the middle of the track coming into the wall for clipping point 3. That kind of unset his flow. Looked like he gave it maybe a big clutch kick to get going again and just over-rotated. So basically put the nail in his own coffin there. So we do look like we've got Alexis Drew on the start line, but no Paul Beachy. So has Paul Beachy called a competition timeout? And it looks like he has, Eddie.
Yeah, our ring girl, Mounts.
Doesn't she look pretty today? Yep, so it's a 5-minute rule called for Paul Beachy. Paul Beachy calls a 5-minute rule. We will get Alexis Drew off the start line. And we're going to move it along to the next one. Keep the action flowing here at BDC Round 1, which we'll see Lewis Mitchell take on Dan Tyler.
Yeah, Lewis Mitchell and Dan Tyler battling it out for one of the final 4 spots remaining in the grade 8.
Dan Tyler living the dream right now, if I'm honest with you, Eddie. He must pinch himself a little bit sitting in that car. He won King of the Ring last year, come to round 1 of Drift Cup 3 weeks ago, finished in the top 4 on there, and then finds himself here at BDC, and now
and quite rightly
BDC licence holder and fighting for a place in the grade 8.
Yeah, and you know what? I think he's going to quite rightly feel like he has the upper hand here. 10th place qualifier versus 26th place qualifier. Can he keep his head here?
We're about to find out, Eddie.
Look, a big gap opens up straight away here, and a big dive from Lewis Mitchell. Oh!
Lewis Mitchell tried to carry the speed of Dan Tyler. Eddie.
Yeah, tries to take him out into that first corner, and ever so lucky to stay on track. But look at this, Dan Tyler unfazed by that burst of aggression from Mitchell, nailing that outer line. And could he be the one to take it to the top of the podium later this afternoon? It looks as though he could be taking it through to the grade 8 here.
Lewis Mitchell with a little wall run there, and Dan Tyler just bringing it across the line. Yeah, Dan Tyler looking quietly confident out front there. Sent that car in on some serious speed. Lewis Mitchell just could not carry that same pace. You could just see the car grab a whole load of understeer and slide towards the edge of the circuit.
So we switch them around. It will be Mitchell to lead in Tyler for the second half of this battle. But do you know what, Ian? I think Dan Tyler has what it takes to go closer.
Yeah, yes, and I said to everybody at the other weekend, you know, keep an eye on this guy because he has got something special. And he is very, very talented, and the skill that he possesses is phenomenal. So going to be good to see how this guy progresses through.
So the second of this half of this battle is underway.
So Dan Tyler now to chase in Lewis Mitchell. Lewis Mitchell fires his car in. Dan Tyler now starting to stick it on the door already. And look at this from Dan Tyler, unfazed of the seasoned pro. Lewis Mitchell, Dan Tyler hunts down the quarter panel of that JZ powered S14. Look at Dan Tyler all over the door of Lewis Mitchell. Nearly.
Big straighten now from Tyler, just as I was about to say, looks in his element, but maybe pushed it ever so slightly too much as he just makes a big error in that chase position in.
Yeah, you know what? He just overcooked it ever so slightly. Tried to get really, really close to Mitchell. Mitchell starts to back out of it ever so slightly.
And then imagine just the amount of adrenaline running through his veins at the moment, possibly causing a rush of blood to the head. But has he done enough on the first run to secure a spot in the Grade 8?
So judges wanting to see a replay of this. Any Dan Tyler fans in the house?
No.
It doesn't sound like it.
Doesn't sound like
it. Is there any Lewis Mitchell fans in the house? There's about five or six of them. So judges just wanting to see a replay of this. Judges just having a little discussion about.
Yeah, and that's, you know, the great thing about the judges, whether it's a, you know, top 32 battle where it's a qualifying run or whether it's a final, they give every battle or every run the respect it deserves, and no decision is made on a, you know, just on a whim.
Exactly, yeah.
They want to make sure that they do as best they can to make the accurate and right decision. These guys spend so much of their time and money just to get involved in the sport, and
yeah, exactly. And you know what? These guys watch a lot of drifting. They analyse a lot of drifting. They watch it day in, day out. You know, I know Ryan Pothecary is dedicated to the calls. He watches a lot of other drifting, you know, just to keep his hand in it and see what other judges do. And I know Kieran Hines is dedicated to it solely as well. So, you know, these guys don't take these decisions lightly. But who is going to go through to the Great 8? Will it be Mitchell? Will it be Tyler? It's going to be left for Mitchell, right for Tyler. Kieran says Tyler. David Egan says Tyler. Ryan says Tyler. Dan Tyler gets the win, ladies and gentlemen, and goes through to the Great 8. Unfortunately, Lewis Mitchell bows out of competition. Dan Tyler, hand out the window, absolutely pumped. Judges, we go to you.
Yeah, I mean, Dan Tyler put in a good performance there. The only bit that we could really mark him down for was on his chase run, the little straighten he had between 5 and 6 there. It was very, very minor, but we couldn't award him with a win on that run. But in his lead run, the massive dive from Lewis just, you know, put him well off line, understeering massively, almost colliding with Dan Tyler, and then no proximity from there on out. So Dan Tyler with the win overall.
So there we go. So I do believe we may be heading back to the battle. Eddie just showing his appreciation there for the new Monster Energy Hydro, fueling UK drifting. So I do believe we're going to head to the Paul Beaty. Oh no. So there's 1 minute left for Paul Beaty to get his car fixed and back towards the start line. So we're going to move it along again, where we will see Christian's Birkhoffs take off Dominic Gates. Christian's earlier on.
Yeah, just scraping into the top 16. However, he did look extremely impressive in that battle as well. So this could be a very interesting one.
Yeah, Dominic Gates has got his work cut out here now. Christian's new guy to BDC, not to be underestimated. The Latvian is bringing a fight. They're off the line. It's Gates to chase down Birkhoffs as Birkhoffs fires that car. A big angle from Birkhoffs, but look at Gates. Gates sending that car on an absolutely wide line, but starts to lose some proximity as Birkhoffs applies the pressure now and starts to pull away.
Yeah, I think what happened really for Gates there, he's actually washed wide into that outer line as opposed to directing the car that way, and now he's suffering because of it as he goes wide, and Birkhoffs just starting to shallow up here, but gets it back onto the wall.
Yeah, Birkhoffs just doing a fine job there of holding it on circuit. Gates to dropping wheels ever so slightly, losing proximity as Birkhoffs takes it across the line. Grandstand, give it up for Dominic Gates and Christian's Birkhoffs.
There's no one in the grandstand, they're all in the stand.
Oh, of course, I forgot.
You can see some brave souls.
Braving the weather on top of the Simon Perry truck there.
And we switch them around. It will be Gates to lead in Birkhoffs. As Malks gives the orders.
Yep, we get underway with the action. Birkhoffs, you say, Eddie, to chase down Dominic Gates for a place in the Grade 8.
You just see how quick Birkhoffs is off the line, but it looks as though he slowed just ever so slightly to allow Gates get in front of him. Oh, Gates just about keeping it. Both drivers dropping wheels.
You know what? Yeah, Birkhoffs following Gates' line, exactly what the judges wanted him to do, and Gates dropping wheels. Birkhoffs gets back in it though, and Gates starts to gain that proximity. Gates on an absolutely perfect lead line though, Eddie, nice and wide as they come into clipping points 5 and 6.
Yeah,
we're Birkhoffs right there, Eddie.
At that point in the weekend, Ian, where drivers are really just starting to dial in that line, they're getting very comfortable, and it's starting to show in those lead runs here. Very comfortable run from Dominic Gates. And as they get back to their starting positions, we wait for the judges to give the decision. And again, just that rain starting to fall. And at this stage, Ian, we're guaranteed to have a wet final.
So we've got a decision. Who's it going to be, Gates or Birkhoffs, to take it through to the Grade 8? Judges slide them right. It's unanimous. Christian's Birkhoffs gets the win and goes through to the Grade 8. Unfortunately, Dominic Gates' weekend ends there, and the Latvian takes the win.
So yeah, just awaiting the judges to discuss that one for us.
Yeah, good run there from Christians. Dominic in the chase position he'd one wheel off at clip 5, and he just didn't have proximity through the run. So Christian had a really good lead line. So it was 7-3, I think, to Christians in the first run. And in the second run, with Dominic in the lead position, he drops a wheel at clip 2. Christians drops a wheel there as well, but has better proximity from there on, so it takes an advantage 6-4 in the second run. So over both runs, Christians.
So we go back to our battle between Paul Beaty and Alexis Drew.
Yeah, on the start line we do have Paul Beaty and Alexis Drew. Now Paul Beaty putting in that over-rotation in the first half of the battle, then calling that 5-minute rule. So potentially an issue with that car. Start line marshal Malks calls those guys up.
Yeah, we haven't heard word as to what may have happened to Paul Beaty's car. All we do know is that he obviously called that 5-minute rule after a spin, so we're just assuming that there's some sort of mechanical issue potentially with that car. As Malks gives the orders, yep. Both drivers ready, off the line, here we go. Can Beaty overturn a 10-0 disadvantage from the lead position? Will Alexis Drew make a significant mistake in that chase position? Looking quite steady there at the moment, not doing anything unsensible, keeping his distance and maintaining his qualifying line as Paul Beaty tries to do everything he can in that lead position to open up a gap, but now just starting to fall off that qualifying line.
Yeah, not doing the best of job is Paul Beaty, and you can see falls offline, starts to make a load of errors. Alexis Drew just holds back, drives that qualifying line and does exactly what the judges are looking for. So, not ideal from Paul Beaty, in my opinion. You know, didn't look too bad first half of the battle, first half of the run, then kind of falls offline. We've got a decision from the judges. Who's it going to be, Beaty or Drew? Slide them right for Drew. Kieran, David and Ryan, it's unanimous. Alexis Drew gets the win and goes through to the Grade 8. Unfortunately, Paul Beaty bows out of competition. No need to go to the judging for that one. A spin couldn't be overturned. So I do believe, Eddie.
Yeah, the main man in the paddock, Nathan, has some information for us. Nathan, over to you.
I certainly do, Edward. Thanks very much. I'm actually down here on the front of the concourse. I really feel like I'm becoming a fountain of BDC knowledge. I've been here for over 4 hours now, learning some of the lingo, some of the technicalities of this magnificent sport. It's really nice to see the people that spend their hard-earned money and time to come down here to the track and drift each other off at these wonderful championships. We've got the fans of Mr. Dan Tyler over there. Look at them in their homemade igloo. Oh, don't they look happy? I think I can't hear them very well. I don't know where they're from, but it's been some really great comments online on the Facebook. I actually found this one in particular, which I'd like to read out. It's from Kevin Breezy, who wrote, "Replace the cones with Nathan. We all want to see Nathan get hurt." That's not a very nice thing to say, Kevin. He also then wrote, "I'm giving away my Civic for free. It's in complete working order. It has a VTEC and 4 turbos. Hit me up." I think you're a liar, and you're still driving your mum's Panda. Back to you, Edward. Thanks very much.
Well, you know what? He's an unreplaceable addition to the BDC now. You know,
Driving your mum's Panda.
thanks, Nathan. We're going to move it on with action on the track. We head it to our next battle and the final battle of top 16, which will be Hayden Cruikshank to take on Andy Arnott for the final place in the Grade 8. Who's going to take it? It looks like the guys that learned to drift got that car fixed and ready for action. We get the thumbs up from our judges and the thumbs up from our drivers. We are good to go. This is for the last place in Grade 8. And we are go. Andy Arnott to chase down Hayden Cruikshank for a place in the Grade 8. And Hayden Cruikshank, look at this. Nice fast initiation from Cruikshank, throwing that car in. Oh! Whoa!
1, 2, 3 wheels off for Cruikshank. Just about keeps that 4th wheel on line, it looked, Ian. But Arnott's lost a lot of ground here as well. Possibly put off by that big error. Oh, but a big straighten out from him.
Yeah.
And, yeah, look, a calamity of errors. One of these guys is going to go through to the top 8, but we're going to need to see some improved driving for them if they hope to further themselves into a top 4.
Yeah, Andy Arnott held back ever so slightly there when Cruikshank started to fall off circuit, but then Andy Arnott, you know, started to drive his own battle, but you know what, then made a massive error himself, fell offline and didn't really do what the judges asked for in the briefing, and that was to complete the run in the best way possible. So we're going to go to our Samco Sport replay, Eddie, and see where it all went wrong. Hayden Cruikshank throws that car on big speed. Didn't anticipate the lack of grip there. Andy Arnott manages to hold that car just about on circuit. He drops 2 wheels off, but Cruikshank clearly has 3 wheels off circuit. And then Andy Arnott manages to keep it back on line, keeps his distance. So not sure what way the judges are going to swing for that one. We go back to the start line where we do see now Andy Arnott and Cruikshank switch positions.
Yeah, so one of these guys going through to the Grade 8, but, you know, massive error there from Cruikshank. And, you know, Arnott then in the chase position with a calamity of errors of his own. The error count on that one run was just...
That is the technical explanation.
That is the technical term for it is...
Wow. So judges still talking about this one, trying to work out who made less errors. We are ready to go. Andy Arnott now to lead out Cruikshank for a place in the Grade 8.
So Arnott to lead them in. Can they keep it on the track this time around?
And they managed to get around the first corner. Cruikshank just about hanging on.
Yeah, it's just certainly not pretty. That's the thing about it. But look at that massive straighten there for, you know, drove a considerable portion of the track there to Cruikshank where they were due to transition. You have to wonder, is he just struggling to keep that car on angle behind, you know, in the chase position behind a slower car? not being given the best of lines by Andy Arnott here to follow.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? For me, Cruikshank's doing a perfect job staying to that qualifying line behind Andy Arnott. You know, Andy Arnott, like you said, Eddie, making a whole load of errors. So this one is going to basically come down to who made less errors. And the judge is going to go from there. So we wait to get the decision. Who will be the driver to take on Christiansen's Birkhoffs for a place in top 4? Will it be Andy Arnott? Will it be Hayden Cruikshank? Judge is still discussing this one.
Yeah, and I mean, quite often when it's 2 really bad runs as opposed to 2 really good runs, it's harder to separate the drivers because you're error counting as opposed to, you know.
Yeah, look, it's easy to judge good drifting at the end of the day. When it's very, very sketchy, when there's a lot of mistakes, it's who made less mistakes. That's what it basically comes down to. And you know, who had the better line. It's not easy to judge it when it gets down to this, and hence why Ryan Pothecary really put in his fight towards the other judges, you know, and these guys, you know, passionate about what they do, want to make the right decision.
Yeah, and of course it is an opportunity to get into a grade 8, which doesn't come around very often for a lot of drivers. You know, it's quite an accomplishment. You have to get your car set up and to the event, to qualify even into the event if you don't have the license already. Then you got to go through qualifying. Then you got to go through top 32. Then you got to go through the top 16. You know, so it's not easily fought or not easily won a space in the grade 8, and they want to make sure that they're making the right call.
Exactly. So it does look like we have a decision. So we wait to see how the judges are going to call this one. Is it Onor? Is it Cruikshank? It's a split decision so far. Ryan Pothecary, what way do you go? Hayden Cruikshank, ladies and gentlemen, gets the win and advances through into the grade 8. Hayden Cruikshank gets the win. Unfortunately, Andy Arnott out of competition. We go to our judges.
Yeah, so that was another glitch on the system there. I went for Hayden Cruikshank. Look, it's a very close one, and it comes down to errors again. Basically, Hayden Cruikshank, he makes probably the worst error, which is 3 wheels off. But everyone's dropping there. It seems slippy, but keeps it going. Now, at that point, Andy Arnott has a huge advantage, but from there on, his run is just really scrappy. He almost over-rotates. He makes a couple of errors. He's very slow. He's off the line. He's not hitting clips. So he's bleeding that advantage away by the end of the run. So at the end of the run, sort of balanced out as a 5-5 for us. On the second run, Cruikshank, it does a good job in the chase position in terms of proximity, except he makes a wobble or two, on the track from 2 to 3 especially, and from 3 to 4 especially, and another little wobble again towards as he comes down to the end of the horseshoe. But it's not major errors, and his proximity was very strong throughout, and his line was good. Even though Andy puts in a valiant effort, his line again just dropped away from those clipping points. So by the narrowest of margins, 6-4 in the second run, Cruikshank gets the win from us.
So there you go, Eddie. Cruikshank gets the win and heads through into the grade 8. So now it's time to break these grade 8 down into the top 4, and a place now to be earned in tomorrow's pro qualifying grid.
Yeah, which I mean in itself is a massive prize. Obviously these guys wanted to bring home some silverware as well. That's why they're here. But a spot in tomorrow's main event would be something that they would just dream about as well. So this is going to be one of those interesting battles. Lee Scott, he's looked so consistent throughout the day, but Kirsty Whittington is showing some serious fight. Even when she looks like she's down and out, she's just pulling good performances out of the bag. And I think she'll be feeling up for this one.
Yeah, exactly. So they are off the line. It's Lee Scott, your first place qualifier, to take on Kirsty Whittington. Can she take Lee Scott down? We're about to find out as Lee Scott fires his car in. Whittington behind dials on big lock, but Scott starts dropping wheels. Kirsty Whittington follows his line though. That's exactly what the judges wanted. Kirsty Whittington doing a good job so far, mirroring Lee Scott. Lee Scott not as quick as what we anticipated.
Yeah, certainly not. Or maybe Kirsty's just showing pace that other drivers haven't been able to match. Now Kirsty backs off there just to avoid getting too close to Lee Scott, but we haven't seen anybody challenge Scott like this yet today. And Kirsty just hanging in there, stays with Scott as they cross the line. Grandstand makes some noise.
Kirsty Whittington bringing the fight Eddie power. Wow.
Yeah, like, I mean, absolutely. We just, as we said, Ian, just Kirsty showing that confidence, showing that fight, and you know, just not willing to back down. There's no die, never give up attitude, and really put it up to Lee Scott. And Lee's going to have to pull out something really special here, because this one hangs in the balance for sure.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we know Lee Scott's got a very, very good chase drive in him, but he needs to have that proximity that Kirsty had. Otherwise, you know, this could go in Kirsty's favour. So, judges just having a quick discussion about this one. He gets the thumbs up. We're ready to go. Melks gets the thumbs up from the drivers. They're ready to go. They are off the line for a place in the top 4. Widrington, Scott. Who's it going to be? Scott not giving Widrington an inch, though, as Widrington fires her car in. Lee Scott now starts to fall off line, Eddie. Lee Scott makes a huge dive on that first turn. Sacrificing line to gain proximity. This is not the characteristics that we've seen of Lee Scott so far. Widrington looking strong out front on a good line.
Yeah, Widrington looking very dominant here, and Scott needs to just pull that proximity in. Just gives the judges something to think about towards the end of this one, but Widrington is absolutely nailing it so far. Nice and deep into that penultimate clipping zone. Out to the wall. Guys, make some noise. What about that for a drive in from Scott and Widrington? Woo! Ian, we may have a new contender.
We may have a new contender to take down Lee Scott. Judges have got a decision. Who's it going to be? Left for Widrington, right for Lee Scott. Who's going through to the top 4? It's a one more time. Unanimously, they're going to go one more time. One more time. Judges, we're just going to quickly cut back to you. Too tough to call. So it's going to go one more time. Unbelievable battle from both those guys.
Yeah, I mean, it was both drivers, both runs. They were reasonable. There was you know, little mistakes from both lead runs, just barely there. Chasing was pretty much the same from both drivers. The proximity, maintaining the proximity throughout the runs. It was just the tiny little mistakes that were on both drivers, so we had to cancel them out, and we cannot pick a winner out of those. We need to see them again to get a clear winner. So
there we go. Judges not being able to separate them, Eddie, too close to call. And you know what? This is what it's coming down to now. You know, these decisions are very, very close, you know. And
they really are. And you know what? I think a fair result overall when you look at the first run. Both drivers dropping wheels in that first corner. The second run, again, similar levels of proximity as there was in the first run, and probably a similar level of mistakes. But certainly, Kirsty will feel like she has the upper hand, I think, going into the second half of this battle. Scott has been showing that dominance, but this is the first time we've seen him show a little bit of weakness. And could Kirsty capitalise on that?
Yeah, I mean, we see Lee Scott put down some amazing chase runs earlier in practice, and I kind of assumed that we'd see him absolutely glue that E46 to the door of Kirsty's car. You know, she had a perfect lead line. It was a perfect opportunity to get nice and close. But yeah, you know, just Scott didn't take that opportunity, and I think that's what kind of overturned it a little bit there and nearly lost Scott the battle. So they are getting ready to rock and roll on the start line down there. Both guys warming tyres up. It's Lee Scott now to lead in Kirsty Widrington for a one more time. One of these guys is going to the top 4. Who's it going to be, Scott or Widrington? We are going to find out. They're off the line. Scott to lead in Widrington. And Scott with a tentative entry. Kirsty Widrington just about holds it on circuit. Scott on a much nicer line this time.
Yeah, much better this time from Scott as he starts to open up a very slight gap, but not enough for him to take a sizable advantage. Kirsty's still in this one. She can put it together, but she's keeping on that qualifying line and maintaining more activity. Makes a big dive, throws on lots of angle, but stays in it. Epic run here from both drivers as they switch it back to the final sections of the tag in the wall from Scott. Big angle from Widrington over the line. Whew.
Yeah, a close one. A very, very close one there. You know what? For me, Kirsty Widrington could have done a little bit more in that battle and just proved, you know, a little bit more aggression. Got a little bit closer to Scott. Scott was on an absolutely amazing lead line. Widrington just didn't really bring the fight, if you like. You know, she was there, but not. She could have been closer. She could have gave Scott something to worry about, but it didn't happen. So, do you know what?
Yeah, but I think, you know, she's done her bit. She didn't deviate off the line. She kept proximity. Now she's just handing it back to Scott and saying, you know, what can you do that's better? Because certainly he didn't show signs of, you know, matching or exceeding that level of proximity on the first half of on the first battle.
No, exactly. So we are just waiting to get Lee Scott back to the line. You can see Kirsty Whittington sitting there.
Scott also chose to take a cool down lap, so wondering, and he's taking time to come back to the line here, wondering, is there mechanical issues?
Yeah, is there a problem with Lee Scott's car? Like you say, Eddie, just as we was after that first battle, those guys, he did do a cool down lap around the circuit, and we can see Kirsty Whittington just backing up to warm her tyres up now. Like you say, has Lee Scott's car got an issue? Well, he's pulling back to the line, so whatever it is, he's more than happy to continue with the battle.
Yeah, Scott must feel as though he has one run at least in the car. As they leave the line, it will be Kirsty to lead them in. Now, what can Scott do in the chase position? He had a good lead run. Kirsty's going to need to match that. She's certainly shown that she's capable of it. Nice line there from her. And a little bit shallow there from Lee Scotty.
Yeah, a little bit shallow from Scott, but he starts to bring the proximity now as he makes a dive onto Kirsty as they come through to Clipper Point 4. Kirsty now starts to push nice and wide. Lee Scott right there with her though. This is the kind of chase battling we wanted to see from Lee Scott as he tries to stick it to the door, but it looks scrappy from behind. It doesn't look clean as Lee Scott transitions onto the back quarter again of Kirsty Whittington's car. They bring it across the line. Grandstand makes some noise for Lee Scott and Kirsty Whittington.
Yeah, very little once again in between to separate the two, and you have to say Scott did have possibly that extra little bit of proximity. I know it didn't look overly perfect, but he was within the 3 meters.
So judges have got a decision. Left for Whittington, right for Scott. Who's it going to be? Kieran goes Scott. David goes Scott. Ryan goes Scott. It's unanimous. Lee Scott gets the win and goes through. Unfortunately, Kirsty Whittington is out of competition there. Lee Scott still dominant, goes all the way to top 4, and we will see him return later for a battle for the final. We go to our judges. Kieran.
Okay, it basically comes down to proximity. Lee just had better proximity in the chase position. It was simple as that. Apart from that, you know, they're 2 clean runs, so down to proximity.
There you go, short and sweet from Kieran Hines.
Short and sweet, just like his beard.
You're obsessed with beards.
Maybe.
So we got to move it on. 3 more spaces in the final 4, and things are just, you know, we're really at the business end now. It's going to be Bolton versus Sutton. Who is going to take the 2nd spot in the final 4?
We're about to find out. Both these guys making their way from Drift Cup. Both these guys doing sterlingly well in that championship. Bolton winning around last year. Sutton was the overall champion. Is this the battle we look forward to all year? Maybe it is. Oliver Bolton throws it in as Alistair Sutton gives him a little bit of room. Oh!
Bolton.
Oliver Bolton overcooks it.
The funk phenomenon.
Oliver Bolton overcooks it. You know what? He just underestimated the level of grip out there. Changed massively from when he was last out on circuit. You know, he just...
Yeah, and I think that's, you know, it's an important point to make, Ian, is that track is changing consistently every time these guys go out. There is a big break, but we're just hearing that once again we're going over to...
No, we're not going to. We're not going to Nathan. No. There's no need, you know. So we're going to go back to the battle and resume this one. Oliver Bolton to take down Alistair Sutton. Alistair Sutton with a 10-0 advantage over Bolton after that spin. Can Bolton hold it together this time and force an error on Sutton? Sutton throws it in. Cool, calm and collected as Bolton now starts to hunt down the rear quarter of that E36. Bolton doing a good job keeping his distance so far, but look at Alistair Sutton. Alistair Sutton absolutely nailing that qualifying line. Oliver Bolton doing a good job, but very shallow an angle there, trying to gain some proximity. Almost comes into contact.
Yeah, I think that was a last ditch. Well, actually, that one was the last ditch effort from Bolton to try and force a mistake, but it's been scrappy at best in the chase position, and a couple of really big dives there just to try and win some favour from the judges. But I think the spin on the first run is going to be the deciding factor in this one. As the results come in, sliding them left, all 3 judges in favour of Alistair Sutton. No need to go to the judges for that one. Pretty clear cut on the first run. as we move it along to our penultimate battle in the Grade 8 rather, which will see Alexis Drew take on Dan Tyler. And you know what? Dan Tyler
looking strong. Dan Tyler looking very, very strong. Very, very...
Yeah, looking like a contender here today.
Yeah.
Very fast out of the block and leaving Alexis Drew for dead here.
Yeah, absolutely. Fires that 328 BMW off the line. Very, very good line from Dan Tyler. Now, can Alexis Drew catch him back up again to gain some proximity? Alexis Drew now starts to pedal it in, Eddie.
Yeah, but he's been cutting the course the whole way in to try and gain that proximity, and even with that sacrifice of line, he's still a good bit behind Dan Tyler, who, you know, hasn't done the perfect lead run, but certainly has looked substantially more impressive here.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Dan Tyler just looking like the better driver in this battle. You know, Alexis Drew, like you say, Eddie, cutting the corner and making a few mistakes. Not good. Not what we want to see at this level, at this you know, part of the day as well, as we head in towards top 4. So we swap them around. It will be Alexis Drew now to lead in Dan Tyler.
As we get the marshal orders to leave the line, Drew versus Tyler.
Who's it
side
gonna
by
be?
side down the straight.
Look
Tyler
at this.
tucks in behind and then goes side by side onto the door.
Look at this from Dan Tyler, Eddie, not giving him an inch, not giving Alexis Drew an inch as Dan Tyler throws it.
Oh, that's a big error from Dan Tyler as they switch it back through that transition.
Yeah, Dan Tyler gets himself caught up massively there as Alexis Drew now starts to drive away with it. Dan Tyler has to play catch up. Very shallow angle as Dan Tyler now starts to make the dive again on Alexis Drew. Alexis Drew looks out the window and sees Dan Tyler all over the side of him. Dan Tyler makes another dive as Drew puts it to the wall. Grandstand. Give it up for Tyler and Drew. God, you know what? Dan Tyler came back fighting after that mistake, Eddie.
Yeah, he really did. I mean, he just put everything on the line there. He was, I mean, I know there's 4 doors, but he was on all of them.
He wasn't giving Alexis Drew an inch. Who's it going to be? Alexis Drew, Dan Tyler, a place in the great top 4. And it's going to be Dan Tyler! Dan Tyler gets the win. It's a unanimous decision. Judges, we head back to you for a quick breakdown on that one.
Yeah, I mean, Tyler's lead was real good, but Drew just didn't have the proximity there. Cutting the track didn't help him. When Tyler chased, there was a couple of little errors from Tyler. Drew's lead not amazing, and we called it a 5-5 on the second run, 6-4 on the first run, with Tyler winning.
So there we go, Dan Tyler getting the win, going through top 4. We're ready to go. On the line, Christian's Birkhoffs to take on Hayden Cruikshank for the final spot in top 4, Eddie. And no messing around. These guys eager. Look at this, off the line. Birkhoffs in the lead position. What has Cruikshank got? Can he take him down? Oh, Birkhoffs taking cones.
Oh, and Cruikshank just about keeping it within the confines of the circuit.
But look at this from Birkhoffs. Birkhoffs absolutely dialed. Big angle on the transition as he heads towards the wall. Perfect line from Birkhoffs. Starts to pull a lead, but cuts the circuit.
Yeah,
Eddie.
drastically cuts the circuit. Very shallow there, and you know, not what we want to see from the lead driver. Takes it back out to the wall now. Needs to keep this strong through the final sections of the course, but it's again Hayden unable to get that proximity as Christians tags the wall. Sketchy stuff, but just Christian's not looking as confident as he did at the start of the day.
No, definitely not.
He
You know
looked
what?
so much faster earlier on.
But we know he's good in that chase position, and we know that Cruikshank made a few errors last time he was out front. So let's see how this one plays out as Hayden Cruikshank now leads out Christian's Birkhoffs for a place in the top 4. Just wait for the judges. Judges just discussing this one, trying to work out who made less errors. Oh, and was that error from Birkhoffs enough to give Cruikshank the advantage? Judges are ready, we're ready, they are ready, drivers are off the line. Look at this, Birkhoffs side by side with Cruikshank. Is he going to tuck him behind? He needs to tuck him behind, he doesn't. He initiates side by side with Cruikshank. Cruikshank keeps that car on circuit this time, no falling off now. Birkhoffs giving Cruikshank a little bit of room here, Eddie.
Yeah, certainly doesn't appear to be trying anything overly aggressive. And good line here from Cruikshank, getting out to those outer zones. Much better than Birkhoffs managed when they were in reverse order. So Yeah, much tidier run this time around as they head across the line. No fireworks really from either driver, but a good steady run.
Yeah, a good steady run from both those guys. You know what, and a pretty decent lead run there from Hayden Cruikshank. So it looks like our judges do have a decision. Cruikshank or Birkhoffs, who gets it, who goes through? Kieran, David, Ryan, unanimous. Christians, Birkhoffs gets the win and goes through to the top 4. Christians, Birkhoffs, over the moon. You can hear him absolutely smashing the rev limiter on that LS2. We go to the judges.
Yeah, first run there. Hayden takes 3 wheels off the track, heavy 3 wheels off the track, stays off it for a while. Birkhoffs does a good job. In the second run, Birkhoffs misses some areas, does a couple of mistakes, but again, it was sort of an even run between the two. So the mistake from the first run costing Cruikshank, my mistake, costing Cruikshank the win. That was pretty much all it came down to.
So there you go, Eddie. Just sending it off too quick, too much pace, and losing himself the battle. So up next, 2 guys that are eager to get into the final. And look at that, Alistair Sutton jumping the line.
Yeah, jumping the line, the battle of the Bimmers. Who's it going to be, Lee Scott or
Alistair Sutton? And look at this, Alistair Sutton not giving first place qualifier an inch of movement as Alistair Sutton sticks his 328 to the door of Lee Scott's E46. Look at this from Sutton.
Yeah, a little bit straight on transition there from Sutton as they switch it back, but look at the proximity. Side by side, door to door, wheel to wheel. Sutton not giving Scott an inch here.
Look at this from Sutton. Sutton hunting down now the quarter as they transition. Sutton, oh, a straighten from Sutton as Lee Scott keeps that car absolutely nailed on that qualifying line.
Yeah, look, that's seriously impressive stuff from both drivers. Scott seems to have a bit of a target on his back. People really upping their game against them right now.
Yeah, and this is for a place in the final, so who is it going to be? Top 4 heating up, Eddie, as we move forward.
Yeah, Sutton really brought the fight to Scott there. Now Scott needs to act in kind. How aggressive was Sutton off the line?
Unbelievable. Thumbs up there, ready to go.
There you
look
go,
at this,
Scott.
Eager.
Yeah.
Oh, and look at Alistair Sutton.
Just shoots forward.
Leaps off the line. Lee Scott now going to have to play catch up. Can he make up the distance lost? He starts to cut the circuit, Eddie. This is not looking good for Lee Scott right now.
No, and losing ground even with that. Just has no proximity here. Could we see Lee Scott bow out and have to fight for a place in turn 4 battle? Look at this from Alistair Sutton. Just
unbelievable.
Dives a little bit.
Yeah, just
as Scott takes it to the wall, but Scott just not able to provide an answer. And I'm wondering, is Scott down on power or something, because he just doesn't look as quick as he did earlier?
No, he just doesn't look like the same Scott that we see earlier. That was unbelievable. You know, Alistair Sutton not messing around, gets straight off the starting line and straight into battle. This guy is hungry for a win. So judges just deliberating their decision ever so slightly. Who's he going to be? Who's going to go through for a place in the final, Eddie?
Yeah, and you know, it's so important to get your championship off to a good start, and there's no better way to do that than by getting into a final.
Exactly. Who's it going to be?
A really important decision. Lee Scott would have been coming over here to make a statement. He certainly made a statement in qualifying, but could we see him lose out on a position in the final and see himself fighting for 3rd and 4th place? Judges still discussing this one in detail, Ian.
Yeah, judges still going through this one.
Of course,
very hard decision on this.
Of course, both drivers will return tomorrow for the main event, Pro Sunday, round 1 of BDC here in Rockingham Motor Speedway. And what an event that promises to be.
Yeah, we will be back live tomorrow, Eddie, at 12 o'clock for pro qualifying. Those guys not messing around this year, some serious builds, some serious drivers, and you know what, everyone muscling together to try and take that crown off of Matt Carter this year.
Yeah, exactly. Look, the standard is year by year, worldwide in drifting is starting just to, you know, come to unprecedented levels. The level of the sport is getting recognition everywhere where it wasn't before, and you know, sponsors really starting to pump money into the sport as well and really get behind it and back it, and it's great to see. But you know, the level of professionality that the drivers have, you know, they they present their cars in such a professional way. They present themselves in such a professional way, and they really perform for their sponsors as well. And they're great ambassadors for the names that they have, the brands that they're representing on their cars. So very exciting times here for drifting, and of course for the first time ever, prize money available as well.
Prize money available
the
this
BDC.
year.
So a lot on offer and a lot to fight for here in the 2018 championship.
Exactly. So I do believe that we are going to hear from.
Well, they're still discussing it.
They're still discussing it. I do believe we're going to hear from Dave Egan.
Well, we need to get a decision first, and
so just waiting to find out.
See Lee Scott there out of his car.
So it looks like the judges do have a decision. Who's it going to be? And it is unanimous. Lee Scott gets the win, ladies and gentlemen. Lee Scott gets the win and goes through to the place in the final. Alistair Sutton will be back to battle for 3rd and 4th place. We are going to head to our judges. Not an easy one.
Okay, I think it comes down to how. Okay, if you look over the 2 runs, there was good proximity by the chase on Lee through the first run, but it was done with less angle. But he had proximity. But Lee's lead run was actually online, and he was on the clip points all the way through. So it was a very easy one to chase, I'd say, with less angle. So after the first one, we actually scored a slight advantage to Lee. In the second one, Alistair in the lead position pulls the gap, okay, but the gap is pulled without actually being on the qualifying line. He's actually not hitting any of the clipping points on the middle of the track. He's carrying less angle as well. So Lee sticks on the qualifying line, gets all the clipping points, and we scored a second one of 5-5. So it comes down, I know, from a view from looking at it from the outside, you say, well, it's proximity one, there is on the other, but proximity has to be there while on the line, and if you're off the line, you're going to get marked down. So Alistair, in his lead position, was marked down massively for not hitting those clipping points.
So there we go, and I do believe we're going to have a word from Dave Egan. Dave?
Yeah, so unfortunately, as I said, wet weather conditions today, slowing things down on the track. Unfortunately, we will have to call it there due to the time curfew here in Rockingham, which means that we have 3 battles remaining in the Pro-Am class, which will now take place before Pro qualifying tomorrow. So we will finish the podium for Pro-Am before Pro qualifying tomorrow. All top 4 guys that are in the top 4 anyway are going through to tomorrow, so we're just going to decide those trophies tomorrow. Unfortunately, with a wet track, it makes it very slow all day, and it's obviously we've been a couple of one more times, things like that, a couple of hits with the wall. So unfortunately, that's all the time we have for today, and we kick back off a little bit earlier than usual tomorrow with 3 Pro-Am final battles. We'll get the podium out of the way, and then we'll move on to the Pro class qualifying immediately afterwards. So a little bit earlier for the live stream tomorrow for you guys tuning in or anyone coming to the event. We'll probably be kicking that off about 45 minutes earlier than we regularly scheduled, and we make those schedule adjustments online so you guys know about it. Until then, we've had a great day here. As I said, just running a little bit late, and of course we have our noise curfews here to pay heed to. So we will be continuing that tomorrow, and as I said, we will be awaiting the finalists and the podium early tomorrow morning for the Pro-Am class here at round 1 of BDC.
So thank you, Dave. And that's it from me and Eddie. Just a huge thank you to our sponsors before we finish up today. Obviously, AMD Details, Brian James Trailers, Cosmos Racing, Funk Motorsport, Jap Speed, JDM Distro, Link ECU, Monster Energy, M-Tech Brakes, Samco Sport, Simpson Race Products, VP Racing Fuels, and Zestino Tyres. Naturally, Eddie, without those guys, we wouldn't be able to put this live stream on for you. And that's it. We're out of time, unfortunately.
We're out of time, yeah, but you know what? We will be back tomorrow morning, and a lot to look forward to tomorrow. It promises to be a smashing start to the Pro Championship, and of course, we'll be giving away a few trophies in the morning to our final 4 competitors here as well. So until then, we will say goodbye.
Yeah, from me and Eddie, we'll see you in the morning.